done. Intro. It's intro time. Shush. Everyone shut up. What's going on, main characters? It's your boy Talks Too Much with Third Party Studios, and we got Cody in the studio.
What's up?
We are here hanging out. We have a crap ton of news. I hope we can get through it all, or at least close to all of it. We got so much to talk about. It's been an insanely busy week for pop culture.
Oh, we'll probably run long today.
Well, yeah, we'll take our time. We're not going to rush anything. We'll take
We missed last week.
Like we're making sweet love to the podcast.
Sweet love.
Oh, damn. Down by the fire.
It's gonna be like one of those GTA radio stations, like, "Hello, listener.
Hello.
How you doing?"
I was just going with a chef impersonation, and I don't even think I did a good job with it.
It's the same thing. Hello, children.
Well, okay, so what has your week been up to? What have you been up to this week? Like, what's been like mainstream for Cody?
Mainstream for me is catching up on shows and trying to get back into anime. Caught up on Invincible, which we'll talk about later.
Yes, we're talking Invincible today, guys. Get prepared. Get excited.
And like, I think I'm like the anti-normie kind of watcher of anime, because all the animes I like are like the animes that people that watch anime 24/7 fucking hate, apparently.
Well, okay, so you bring a good point. Aren't there like three categories of anime fans? There's the shonen fanboys who will be more categorized as normies, who they'll come in because they looked at a shonen that looked cool or exciting, or that's what they started with as their introduction into the anime. Then you have like more of a casual watcher like me, who I love anime and it's one of my favorite genres of media. But I will try pretty much everything. I will try a new shonen if it looks good. I will try a new.
You'll watch that one time I got reincarnated as a
vending machine,
as a miner's tampon or some shit.
We're
starting out strong.
We're going hard. Yes, holy shit. Yeah, so there I will watch those. Not that one specifically. I might not watch that one.
That's the one isekai. Don't get it.
I don't think I'll try that one, to be honest. But then you gotta and then you have what you were saying, which is. But then there's.
Well, it's like I have a okay knowledge when it comes to anime. I would say it's like I don't know a whole lot or anything, but like one of my favorites, a couple of my favorites are like Black Clover and like Fire Force, and these apparently are like, oh, you fucking like this thing.
Oh, okay, so
and I want to get on this topic a little bit more. Is that like anime and manga, like purists are just like, this is their entire world. They're some of the most like judgmental people I've ever seen in my entire life.
For me, I think that the storytelling aspect of it is the thing that makes me care the most. Now, I struggle when it comes, you know this, I've talked about it on the podcast before, when it comes to an anime that has like intentionally awkward looking characters, like they're designed that way on purpose. You know, One Punch Man, I had to try.
Art style is a big thing for you.
Art style is a huge thing for me, because if I can't stand looking at it, I'm not in it. I'm not locked in. You need to actually like get me into the show before.
Why you need the fan service.
I don't need the fan service. In fact, fan service was the thing that like killed Fairy Tail for me. I'm over Fairy Tail, hard over it.
Yeah.
But the other category I was getting at was the anime purists, like you were saying, who are like, they can name characters from these like mid-90s spin-off, one-off movies, or like 5-episode or 6-episode shows that are apparently like the peak of the anime universe as far as like what they like say is culture. And then I'm just like, I've never heard of those shows before.
I've watched every filler episode of Naruto, all 395 of them.
Twice. I still watch them.
Yeah.
Even just to figure out what I missed. So, I mean, there's plenty of subcategories of anime to enjoy. But the issues with like Fire Force and Black Clover, I'm just going to say my piece on that. Like, I tried Black Clover. It took so long for the plot to develop. Like, it took so long. The entire.
For like the main antagonist to kind of. Yeah. It's like 50 episodes or something.
And it wasn't even like, it really wasn't even where. Like, let's use a comparison to Dragon Ball, which isn't. I'm not comparing it to quality of show, because I think they both have their own pros and cons. But when it talks about power creep and like how characters learn and unlock abilities in Dragon Ball, they unlock them through like necessity. Like they're mid dying, or all their friends are dying, or they're training ridiculously hard. in Black Clover, I've seen examples of characters just unlock brand new powers just for the sake of plot convenience.
Because there were elves in their past life. Spoilers.
Yeah, well,
No one really cares.
you typically say spoiler alert before you spoil.
No, you say it and then you say spoiler alert.
Oh, got it. I was doing it wrong.
Dumbledore dies, by the way.
Snape kills Dumbledore. So,
But like, yeah, no, I don't know. Like, I think the perfect anime and like length of it is, I would say, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. If you go over that like 60 so episodes or whatever, it's like you're not getting to the fucking point. Everything's getting dragged out. It's like My Hero is an example that goes over and it's like it kept me engaged the entire time. But there are very few where it's like, oh, we have 300 plus episodes for you. And it's like, I don't know, man. You guys aren't getting to your point, and everything just drags on and
taking way too long. Well, that's
the story needs to end.
Well, yeah,
One Piece needs to fucking end.
Yeah, and like when we've had Jamie on the channel before, and we've talked to him about One Piece, and we've had our own conversations about One Piece. Every person who is a diehard fanboy of One Piece tells me there is no filler. Everything is story. Every character has something going on. Everything references back to something that happens, and it's all important. And then you have One Piece, which proves that entire theory wrong, and proves that so much of that can actually be cut out.
Well, I'll say with One Piece, there are good arcs and there are bad arcs. The problem with the arcs, though, is they last 100 fucking episodes. So if like you're not interested in an arc, then you're fucked for days on end.
Well, and I mean, to One Piece's credit, and everything in the East Blue, or not the East Blue, it's been a while since I watched it, so I'm probably gonna, and I'm not a passionate One Piece fan, so I'm not gonna hold myself too high of standard here. But after they basically got everyone introduced, and they got like Chomper, and they got their, is it Alabasta's the first main story like arc post getting everyone together?
It's early on, yeah.
It's basically,
and it's a good arc.
Like once you're through that, I'm kind of like, all right, now I expect the story to have significantly progressed such that we're on point to at least finish the first act of the story. No, that was all the prologue.
We're gonna go with Thriller Bark, which is a Halloween horror story that lasts for fucking 50 odd episodes.
Short and short of it is that One Piece, like One Piece fanboys and loyalists, I get it. It's your show. I respect the quality. I respect the grind that you guys have gone through. I respect that you guys are 30 years into the show and it's still ongoing. But I mean,
it's the Simpsons of the fucking anime world where they're on season 37.
It's weird that they get like frustrated when you as a new viewer come in and start pointing out things, though. You're like, hey, this is taking too long to develop. And I, unlike you, was not waiting on pins and needles every week growing up with this show. I am starting it far later, and I have the entire thing, and I'm binge watching, and I'm getting insanely bored because the story is not progressing.
Yeah, no. What killed that show for me is Thriller Bark, which is in episodes 300 and some. So I made it a significant ways through it, and I was just like, I'm fucking out, dude. It took me 2-3 years maybe to get through Thriller Bark fucking arc. It's like, yeah, no. Therefore, this anime doesn't constitute my time at all. I'm out.
Well, so like Fire Force, Black Clover, and Demon Slayer are 3 anime that I respect the quality of the shows.
But you're not into it.
I'm not into it. Now, I did finish season 1 of Demon Slayer. I started the movie, and the movie was like the end for me. Like I got 5 minutes into the movie, and I was like, I turned it off. I'm like, I'm over it.
Top grossing anime movie of all time.
I couldn't get 5 minutes in. I was like, this is stupid. I don't want it. I don't want it.
You know that is the condensed version of a season.
That was my understanding. Again, I didn't passionately follow it after the fact, but I mean, yeah, that was my.
You don't like the train, huh?
It wasn't I didn't finish it. I didn't get that far into it. So there's probably plenty in there to love, and obviously there's plenty in there to love. Again, I'm not shitting on Demon Slayer besides just saying it failed to grab me. If the mission of the movie was to get more fans, I was a holdout, and they didn't get me. And that's not a detriment to the movie. Obviously, it did exactly what it needed to do with getting its own fan base built up. But what actually turned me up? Did you watch it? The movie?
Yeah.
Okay. in the first minute of the movie when they're getting on the train and they see the fire guy. Is it Rengoku? Is it Rengoku?
Some shit like that.
Yeah,
It's
so,
been a while since I've seen
the
that.
fire-breathing guy.
That's season 2, basically.
The fire breathing guy. This is what it is. It's like they get on the train, they see him there. He's got 2 stacks of boxes of like benko boxes, like where they're just ready to eat. And he just grabs one, quick
Yum.
grabs it with yum, throws it aside, grabs another one, quick eats it, yum. Does that over and over and over again. He does it like 6 times before they move frames. And I was like, I'm over it. I don't want it. I like it took no time for that. First off, I was not, again, a passionate Demon Slayer fan. What I was looking at was what people were loving about Demon Slayer was the artwork, or at least that's what they were proclaiming to love the most about it.
Animation quality in that show is almost unrivaled.
It's absurdly good. It is absurdly good. That's not good enough for me, but
Right.
it definitely changed. That year stood out huge in anime for that reason. And then it has a lot of things to like about it. But I think it deserves its place among the Hall of Fame for anime for storytelling? No, I think a lot of the characters are pretty I was gonna say two-dimensional.
Yeah,
It wasn't
intentional. Drawn.
I was gonna say a lot of the characters are very flat and they're not like that impressive as far as like development. I mean,
There aren't a lot of busty girls. You're right.
well, the Nezuko,
You said flat, so
right. Nezuko is someone that character like people have talked about.
that's a weird one. I don't want to get into the R34 of that.
No, I'm not. I didn't even start. What? I didn't even say R34. No, Nezuko is a character that people talk about when they talk about the show. They're like, oh, I love what goes on with Nezuko, and then I'm like, she doesn't fucking talk. She has no lines. She doesn't do anything. She's like, yeah, I guess
that's where you can have storytelling from a character that doesn't talk or anything. You can still portray what they're feeling and whatnot through animation, their emotions, and blah blah blah.
You can. Now also we have to reflect on the fact that she's also stuck in a box for most screen time.
Yeah, put your hoe in a box.
Put your hoe in a box.
But yeah, with Fire Force, it's like everyone seems to like hate Fire Force, and I don't. I understand a bit of the hate. There's a fan service character, which is very annoying.
That's frustrating as someone, because how do I recommend that to other people who are not? How do I recommend anime with that much fan service in it to people who are not into anime at all?
Just have a character that just loses their clothes randomly out of a fucking like what do they call it? Like
keep setting it
lucky lurker quirk or whatever.
Yeah.
It's fucking like no.
So,
but like the animation, the sound design is peak, and then storytelling throughout season 1, very enjoyable.
I think so too. Season 2 started to trail off into some really weird things that did not make sense for that universe, and I think they were just trying to explore new territory. It seemed like when they went to China, right? They traveled from Japan over to China to explore.
I still haven't seen all of season 2 yet.
So I mean, I don't think the show did
I've rewatched season 1 3 times, but.
I
that might say something.
Is it weird? Okay, are we just like too American to not understand what the benefit, what the trade-off, pro and con is for anime to force fan service into their work versus like I look at Mushoku Tensei, like Jobless Reincarnation, and in my opinion, it's one of the best anime that exists. But the biggest issue that I understand fully is that the main character is a perverted character, and that's like his arc in like his whole character flaw to play off of. But how
you say Jobless
Reincarnation?
Oh, yeah.
But
that's a hard one because the first like 5 episodes, like you got to get past that.
You have to, and it's not easy, and it wasn't easy for me as someone watching it for the first time. I remember watching that for the first time. I was like, really? Are we doing this? All right, let's.
I think it's like a lot of I saw this conversation come up multiple times. Is like your average like anime viewer in the West, say us Americans or whatever. It's like we're into our late 20s, early 30s, blah blah blah, and we're kind of just really over the whole fan service thing. It's like everything just there's like random sexual moments, and it's like you're kind of taken away from like. I would say in Fire Force, there's a whole, there's a fight that's very, like, layered and whatnot, and it's it's intense, it's serious, and blah blah. And then there's that random fucking chick that's just like, oh, we're gonna burn her clothes off now, and
Yeah.
Shinra fucking lands face first into her chest, and it's like, you're taking away from the story moments for this fucking fan service stuff.
Yeah, you are. That's all. I mean, and that's the
And
frustrating.
it happens in like almost every anime.
Yeah, I mean, like Fairy Tail had fan service in it very early on, but it wasn't like showing boobs off screen. Like it wasn't like a side boob panel, or like so a woman being topless and just covering her chest up.
Yeah, you gotta
like-
have that steam bath scene or whatever.
Exactly. And so I think that a lot of this is where the question came from, was I wanted to know if Americans are just uncultured, because it seems like, well, like this is a trope for France, right? Like France is a hypersexualized culture. It's like, oh, you Americans are so uptight and you just need to let loose and fuck 7 gay men. And you just and I'm just like, I don't want to do that. That doesn't sound fun to me. I don't like it.
I like my sexy time in my private time.
Yeah, I would,
don't want it in every show I fucking watch.
yeah.
Where it's like it turns into like when you're a child playing GTA and a loading screen comes on and all of a sudden it's chicken bikini and you gotta explain it to your mom when she walks in.
Well, and
I don't need every scene to be like that.
Well, and what's weird is now we're talking culture, right? Like American like sex positive culture is like very weird, very, very bizarre. That seems weird to me even compared to like any other country. And then you look at Japan and like you look at the media that gets put out of that sphere of the world, and you look at anime and fan service and stuff, and at least with that they're like covering it up and being like risque and like a little bit like over the top, but mostly covered up. I mean, you never see
I don't understand the contradictions when it comes to Japan and their like prude or not prudeness, because they're like super polite, whatever.
That was my
society, and then like they have a shop dedicated to a fucking sexy character in an anime, and you can buy whatever you can think of from that character.
Yeah, those two worlds are so opposite each other, but they merge into their society, and then if you think of like the Japanese culture from an outsider perspective, like, well, that's what I'm doing. I'm thinking about the Japanese culture from an outsider perspective, and I would consider the Japanese culture to be more traditional, respectful, conservative in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to sex. And then you have this media that they put out. And then I take all of that analysis that I'm doing of that culture, and I'm comparing it to like the sex positivity, the pride stuff, the LGBT, the sexualization, the drag queen story hour shit in America. And I'm just like, what the fuck? How did we become the bad ones?
Did we lose the war?
We lost we definitely absolutely lost the war. I loved a meme where there was a short on YouTube talking about this, where it was post World War II, Japan, like America was like, Japan, you need to cut it out with all the anime and the cutesy shit. And Japan's like, no, you don't want us to take the mask off, because underneath this is what like we never forgot.
Do you want us to get rid of your pillows?
Yeah, you want us to be cute.
Yeah, I don't know. It ruins anime, in my opinion, is that trope.
So do we have a
like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood?
Beautiful.
No, there's no fucking sexy time trope or anything.
No,
there's no fan service really.
Even the
Winry
character
is lust is the closest thing that you'll even find, and it's still very
modest.
Yeah.
Well, it's very World War II, 1940s Germany-esque, where there really wasn't.
Well, I mean,
that's really the setting that they set.
That's the setting, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, imagine like you're an American viewer of anime, and you've seen all this stuff or whatever, and then you go to Full Metal Alchemist after watching a few, and then there's a character called Lust, and she's sexy and whatnot, and you're just like, oh, okay, they're gonna fucking probably get her naked or some weird shit.
She's gonna seduce a bunch of men.
It's like, no, it doesn't happen.
No. She really is more like a vampire-esque kind of like character, like trope, than like your seductive, like succubus-esque demon whore.
Demon whore.
Whore. Whore. Yeah, we had Hawk-Tuah, which was the thing. Like America had Hawk-Tuah, and Japan gets like anime, and I'm just like, we need to switch. Something is wrong.
Well, we don't know about their influencers. Maybe someone said some dumb shit on a
like Johnny,
interview,
like Johnny Somali.
Oh, he's going to jail.
He's so going to jail. That guy's so fucked.
I think Korea finally got him.
They did, yeah. As Korea, and then another influencer came into Korea, I think, and went through something very similar. So another guy showed up to start doing more of that too, and I'm just like, dude, lock them all up. Please don't send them back.
Yeah.
And
we're not gonna extradite.
Cool. Honestly, this is not like a free speech thing. This is you're just on the street harassing and bothering people. It's not a protest. There's no message. There's no like speech you're trying to convey. Even you, I think, are just trying to do it to make money. I mean,
yeah, it's just harassment. There's like Japan is getting really sick of Western tourists.
And they should be.
Because they're just coming in all the time, trying to take pictures of everything. They're like stopping geishas or whatever in the street and just like, can I get a picture? And they're just taking pictures like, no, fuck off. They're doing their own thing. You're tourists. You sit on the sidelines and just observe and enjoy the culture.
Yeah. And that's this is something I experienced a lot while I was in Mexico. Because when I went down to Mexico and the touristy areas, they had very Western food. They had like classic French fries. They had good hamburgers and steak. They had all sorts of things that you would associate with American culture and American food. And then you travel just a few blocks off Main Street. All of a sudden, all the food shops are serving more traditional, a little bit more like not super sugary, salty. Well, I mean, it's salty. It's authentic, spicy Mexican food.
Fuck yeah.
It's not the Americanized, extra fatty, extra salty, extra sugary stuff. It has less. It has more spices for flavor.
There is the thing, like if I go to Japan and they got McDonald's, I'll be like, I gotta check out Japan's McDonald's. See how different it is.
Chicken or nugget.
We got sushi in between two buns.
Oh, dude, stop there. Don't say more. Say less. I want that. I'm going to Japan tonight. I'm going tonight.
A sushi burger.
I want a sushi burger, motherfucker. That's what I want. Should we jump into stories?
Probably. It's been a while.
It's been a little bit. All right, we're gonna jump into our first story. So, Harry Potter HBO series officially race swaps Snape. Papa Asidu finalizing deal to become the iconic J.K. Rowling character. We talked about this. We put out a story on this a few weeks ago, but it's actually confirmed now, and I'm frustrated as hell about this. I was like,
the whole internet is frustrated as hell. Well, this fucking casting.
Well, and so here's what we know so far. J.K. Rowling is involved in the casting choices. She is involved in the project. She is having a lot of oversight on this and is directly connected to this project. And so no decision seems to be going anywhere past her. So the one big holdup they had for the longest time in all of the original movies that came out in the 2000s was the major roles have to be played by British actors and British actors and actresses. We learned last week the other week that John Lithgow was confirmed as the first American actor to play a major role in the Harry Potter franchise as Dumbledore. And now we have race swapping going on. I'm under the impression your passion for authenticity here was vanished, like is just gone.
Oh yeah, they advertise as like a true, authentic telling of the books because the movies kind of got further and further away from the source material, or the movies got further and further away from the source material as it went on.
And to their credit, they were really, really good.
For people that didn't read the books beforehand.
Yeah.
Because like I didn't read the books until, I don't know, 4 years ago or some shit. But this is how long I have a burnt-in memory of going to not Blockbuster, it was Take Two Video.
Yeah, that's what we had in our place.
And there were walls filled with
copies of Harry Potter
and Deathly Hallows Part 1. I remember that.
And that one was not good. That was probably the worst movie of the series, I think. Deathly Part 1.
4 is.
4? Goblet of Fire? Why do you think Deathly Hallows Part 1 is better than, what do you think is better in Deathly Hallows Part 1 than Goblet of Fire? Just comparing those two.
Well, I was like 6 years older when I watched Deathly Hallows, so I was like more patient. It's more of a slow burn, kind of just like setting. It's only setting up Part 2.
Yeah.
Which Did that start the trend, or did Hunger Games start the trend of adapting the last book into 2 parts?
That's a good question. I couldn't tell you which came first, the chicken or the egg on this one. But I think that we can agree that it was very young concept. I think we can agree on that.
But 4, I always thought was like kind of like a mixed bag. Like they're trying to mash so much together. And even later learning that the director wanted more of like a teen love story.
Mm-hmm. And let me make my case for Goblet of Fire real quick. Let me just make my case.
Did you read the book?
We're comparing the movies.
I know, but like, because my perspective is like, I've read all the books now, and
you're going for
Goblet of Fire
more
is
accuracy,
fucking
right?
Insanely off base.
Okay, fair enough. So I was not comparing on book accuracy because no, I read them when I was a kid, or I read like the first 3 when I was a kid, when I was really young, and then never read another book. But
I read it when I was 12, and then I haven't read a book since.
But as far as like Goblet of Fire, the movie goes, they did a good job of introducing Alistair Moody into the story. They did a good job of telling several teen romance stories, because you had Hermione and Ron, their dynamics started to kind of come together a little bit with some of the other side character love drama that was going on. You had Voldemort being introduced. I thought his introduction was awesome. Well, but you had Voldemort being introduced really well. Like Voldemort's introduction to the series was really good. Robert Pattinson being killed off was actually a really good moment in that movie. There were other moments of suspense where you had Harry that are kind of memed on now, but when you're watching it for the first time, when Harry's name comes out of the Goblet of Fire, that was an incredibly suspenseful scene. Now it's a meme.
I like how it's a meme. It's like where Dumbledore basically like yells out, "Did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?" It's not that way in the movie at all, but we've accepted it in the society of like he loses his shit.
Yeah.
It's like, no, he just grabs her. He's like, "Did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?"
Exactly. But yes, these are the things about 4 that I think put it above the Deathly Hallows Part 1. First off, the death of Dobby in Part 1 totally lands flat to me. I think that was a hard fail.
There's actually a fan created, which now is like almost a monument in one of the beaches in England, dedicated to
Dobby. Oh man, where's Robert Pattinson's statue? We need a Batman.
Cedric Diggory.
We need a Batman. Edward. He's Edward. Batman. Edward. Prince of France, all sorts of roles.
Dude's been in some franchises.
He's a great actor. He's underutilized. He's very underutilized. I don't think he's getting the roles he should be as an actor.
Oh, he's picking and choosing, but like growing up, I mean, we grew up basically as these movies were happening. We're almost like the same age throughout.
Yep, pretty close.
When did the first one come out? 2001, I think?
I thought 2001. It might have been 2000 or 99. Well,
so I'd have been a little younger.
The Nimbus 2000. It would have had to have been 2000, because I thought that was the reference.
A late model.
Well, I mean, it was brand new when it came out. They were all like chiming over it and stuff. And maybe the books were written well before the movie came out, and so if the movie came out in 2000, then you're probably like. I wonder if J.K. Rowling was like, "It's the Nimbus 2000."
So yeah,
the
first movie came out in 2001.
Yeah. Okay. So
I would have been younger than Harry even.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because they would have been like they were 11 in
quick math.
Well, they were 11 in the their characters. I think were 11 in the film.
Yeah, this is 11th birthday.
Yeah. So Harry.
But yeah, we grew up with this story. A lot of kids were introduced through the movies and whatnot, and now as we're reaching our 30s and beyond, they decided to make this fucking show, which everyone that grew up with the movies was like, fuck yeah, they're gonna do a fucking book a season. That means like what, 8 to 10 episodes. That's 8 to 10 hours in every book. It's
and I think that the first season is going to be a little interesting to tell, because you are going to be, as adults who are fans of Harry Potter and watching it with your kids, probably you are going to be watching like the first episode is going to be Harry Potter as a 10-year-old in a zoo like messing with his little brother or with his like adopted brother, his cousin.
That's
Dudley.
that's a funny image. It's like, yeah, Harry Potter's in a zoo. He's just a spectacle there.
Yeah. He's just a guy. He's just a little kid. Like we're all going to be watching this and being like, I don't like what am I like what is an adult going to be latching onto in the first season of Harry Potter? Like they're not going to be telling a darker. I don't think they're going to be telling a darker story.
Well, it's
I mean,
still a dark story. It kind of like it stands the test of time. It doesn't matter how old. Are you making the argument that there's the main character is an 11-year-old and therefore can't identify with the story?
no,
Does he
I'm
have to be a 32-year-old balding white man?
no, I'm saying that I'm wondering if the show or at least the first season is going to be made for kids. And that's what I'm wondering. The first episode we know
It's like what they did with the first two movies, where they're very
yeah.
like oriented towards kids, and then the third one kind of just like
They
jumps ship and it's like, all right, we're gonna make it super dark. and
I
shit.
think in order to get a hook into adults in the first season, that what they would need to do is start the story from like Harry's parents being like hiding him, and then Voldemort coming in and then killing off his parents. I think that's the only way you're gonna hook in the first episode. That's all I'm saying. Is like the first episode, the pilot needs a strong hook, and for adults, they're gonna be watching an 11-year-old mess with his cousin, and bullying his cousin. And that's basically what
Well,
you're gonna get.
with adults, you already got to set an audience.
I mean, you might get a lot of people who are just
It's
locked
just
in.
kids these days, because like I know of a bunch of people that haven't read the Harry Potter series or anything, and they're just like, I'm gonna read it with my kid when they yeah. So like the adults, I think are already like a built-in audience,
Mm-hmm.
because the show was in the 90s and whatnot, and then the movies came in the 2000s. So you got your built-in audience with the adults. It's almost like bringing in the kids. So
That's what I'm saying though. Is like the first two movies were made for us as kids. I don't think my parents would have been like passionately excited to watch the first two Harry Potter films because they were made for kids. Like
maybe they like the magical world and all its
nobody likes magic. Magic is ugly and bullshit. So on the Snape race swap thing, a big part of what draws the controversy in on this is the fact that there is a really detailed description of what Snape looks like already in the books. That's a lock-in. It's actually quoted out here in the story. So from the Half-Blood Prince, Snape's pale face illuminated by, let me highlight, a little easier to see, guys. Snape's pale face illuminated by a flaming cabin was suffused
Sure.
with suffused with hatred, just as it had been before he had cursed Dumbledore. You dare use my own spell against me, Potter. It was I who invented them, and I am the Half-Blood Prince.
You got to read it as Alan Rickman.
I'm Alan Rickman. I'm Alan Rickman. Yeah, I should have read that a lot better.
You dare use your own spell against me.
Besides the foreshadowing of the Half-Blood
Potter.
Prince with like the book and stuff, did they ever follow up on the Half-Blood Prince in the books? Like the fact that he is the Half-Blood Prince. Like, what was the significance of that outside of like there was a potions book Harry had for a school season?
Ah, fuck.
Was there any significance behind that title? Because like as far as you could tell from the movies, Snape calls himself the Half-Blood Prince, and then he writes that name into his potions book, takes a bunch of extra notes because he's really smart. Harry finds it, and then he's like, I wrote my name in your school journal. It was always me who signed your yearbook. And I'm just like, what is the significance of this title? So I was just curious if that ever got addressed.
Oh, fuck. Because I don't really remember. I think he was also, I won't say like born from Muggles, but like one side of the family was
He's in my blood.
into wizardry, which you can't say that anymore. That's very racist.
Muddy bloody.
But like, one side of his family was into the wizard world, and the other side wasn't. Kind of like, I think that's why him and Lily
Mhm.
got along as they were kids. But I don't really remember. But that's where the half-blood would come in. One side's magical, the other side isn't.
Okay. Well, and I didn't know this about the Cursed Child. But the Broadway show or the actual like play rendition has already race swapped a bunch of characters in it. So I mean, there's already a bunch of problems going on with that. So I mean, there's arguments to be made that this is a good thing, and I would hear them out and then just answer back with a description of Professor Snape and just be like, you either care about accuracy or you don't. And if you care about DEI and just race swapping characters just to either trigger fans or to check a box, I would make the argument that you are the racist one because you're the one who cares so much about making sure people are in characters like it's bullshit. You're all just a bunch of dumbasses.
Yeah, okay, so I was right. Snape's father is non-magical, muggle.
Muggle.
Might as well now. Never mind.
That's his father? His father's a muggle?
Yes.
Okay, got
and
it.
his mother is a witch. And then I think Lily came from the same background. That's where what's Harry's aunt's name again?
Ooh.
It starts with P. It's not Priscilla, it's not Penelope, it's
damn, I'm not gonna get there.
Oh my god, my memory's fucking going. God, I'm old.
Your memory is bullshit. Your memory sucks.
But yeah, no, with race swapping, it recontextualizes the entire fucking series because now it's gonna be James Potter, Harry's dad, is a racist.
Yeah.
Half-blood, muggle, whatever. They're basically turns into a racist term now.
Yeah.
Especially if they make Hermione, if they keep Hermione black, I should say, because she's been black since the Cursed Child play and whatnot.
Right.
It's like, and she gets called fucking mudblood and all this thing. It's like, it's just gonna turn into this whole fucking race allegory now.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the original.
I wouldn't say allegory. It's just gonna be racism.
It's going to be absolute. That's going to become a main plot line for a lot of these characters if that's what they're going to do with it.
I mean, Harry's dad fucking hangs Snape from a tree, basically, upside down.
Gives him a wedgie.
Yeah.
Gives him a wedgie. Yeah.
Yeah, it destroys so much, and it just turns it into a race thing instead of just being a magical. Because like Harry Potter's magical world is already kind of like race.
Yeah.
Base. It's like the magical between the non-magical.
Mm-hmm.
That's Voldemort's basically whole point is like, we gotta keep the pure bloods and whatnot.
Yeah.
But instead of just having, magical based, now it's skin color based.
The people who go through the world looking for every opportunity to race swap, these are the same people who tell you that a white person can't relate to the struggles of a black person and that you can't have them interchange and such.
I mean, I'm Irish.
Well, and so now you're right. You basically broke it down best already. I think you said the point the best. It's basically going to be a race example, or everything in the story is going to revolve around that now.
Yeah, which everyone's already sick of fucking hearing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm over it. I've
been over it.
I'm honestly really surprised that they did this. This actually really took me back. We knew this.
Do you think JK's trying to get back into the good graces of the left? Because she agrees with the left
just in time,
everything,
right? I mean,
except for the whole tranny issue. And so they excommunicated her for that.
I would be surprised if that was the reason, because they have never prevented a single successful thing for her. Nothing they have done has ever been financially or like business relation wise crippling.
True.
And she's already where she would need to be in order to make this show successful.
They already put a trans in Hogwarts Legacy, so.
Yeah, so I mean, we all knew she's a leftist who's going to do something here, and when we had the casting call go out, it was like, regardless of race, gender, whatever, come audition. We knew that going into this. That's how far back this story goes. We knew this was going to happen. So being surprised about it is a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, the entire internet was very optimistic. It's like, so the casting call went out for the kids or whatever.
Yeah.
Referring to a story from a year or so ago that it's like, yeah, any race, whatever, show up, blah, blah, blah. And we were thinking, it's like, oh, yeah, it's just basically to please people that are in certain positions. It's like, yeah, we're going to watch everyone.
Yeah.
And then because this was the first casting rumor that came out.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's only a rumor. We're cool, guys. Just chill out.
Everyone's fine.
It's gonna be fine.
It's like
We
when
live in the modern day where everything turns out nice and squeaky.
it's like in the 60s when a single black guy would have walked into a diner and everyone's like, everyone calm down. It's gonna be okay. I've seen
You're
Green.
not welcome in here.
Well, it's like the Green Book. Did you ever see that movie with
Vigo.
Yeah. I love that movie. I like that movie a lot.
I've basically seen the movie through clips of YouTube shorts.
Okay. It's like, I just love how the racists win. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
But it's like,
That movie is
there are
awesome.
so many, there are already like, I don't know, 5, 6 fucking characters of color, I'll be nice, that are in this show. It's like, it's
Wait,
not.
Cox?
Yes. There are plenty of cocks in this movie or in this series already. But it's like you're switching races. One, Papa whatever that's supposed to play Snape now.
Yeah, I've never heard a pronunciation of his last name, so I'm just doing my best. I'm not actually trying to be a dick without a pronunciation.
It's like he's a good-looking black man.
Yeah.
Snape is the opposite of both those. He's ugly and he's white.
Yeah, he's decent looking. I mean, no homo, but I mean, like he's all right.
Yeah.
He's good. He's all right. I wouldn't, but
Like, well, he's got to be white. And it's because that's what the source material is.
yeah. So
And the backtracking on source material in every beloved franchise that we've
ever had
and lost
mm-hmm.
is just, who are you placating towards?
the modern audience that doesn't exist. We've already proved the modern audience does not exist.
Because you're going against your fan base immediately by going against source material, because every fan base, the source material is gospel.
Yeah. And
So as soon as you change something like that, you're losing everyone that loves your franchise from like the bottom up.
well, you've heard this argument. Well, do you just want to you just want the same story over again in this new medium? Yes. Yes, that. Like, there's absolutely no reason.
My sister made that claim with how to Train Your Dragon. The she's like, it's just gonna be shot for shot, same thing, whatever, blah blah. It's like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
and people will love it for that.
You mean that cinematic masterpiece? Yeah, please don't change that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if
don't
you
do
go
that.
against it, you're gonna fucking piss off a shitload of people.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, like the Astrid race swap, we talked about that for How to Train Your Dragon, and honestly, it's fine. What is it?
It's minimal.
What's the term?
You could use Hollywood's term of white passing.
Yeah, that's quote unquote. We're quoting Hollywood, white passing.
Yeah.
Every time we say
That's
that.
what they say about Pedro.
Yeah, Pedro Pascal is quote from Hollywood, white passing.
Yeah, so they can use him in everything, and you won't piss off the white people.
And I don't know if she can do a good job as that character. I'm just letting that one go. But
Yeah,
on other points on How to Train Your Dragon.
yeah, it's very hard.
It's hard to think about both of those at the same time and not confuse them. But in How to Train Your Dragon, I'm really hopeful that that's good, because the second movie, I really would like to see a live action of the second film. That would be so good. Like the dad passing away in that movie was such an epic scene.
Gerard Butler dies.
Yeah.
Spoilers. He also dies in the end of 300.
What? The Red Wedding was a trap? Spoiler. Just so I think,
Yeah, no, this news set the internet on fire, and everyone that was giving HBO and JK like benefit of doubt, it's like, all right, you want a faithful, honest adaptation of the books. Everyone's like out now, because it's just, you killed your show before
it started.
a single shot
Yep.
was even like.
We only have 2 confirmed actors, or 2. Well, and they're
There is one for like McGonagall or something, I think.
right. And the confirmation here is that the deal is being finalized. There is a deal. It is being finalized. That's a confirmation. Right. It's not done. There's no ink on paper yet.
Yeah. There's no signed name yet.
Yes.
But it's just like, yeah, this show's dead in the water. And I think Gary from The Rock was saying, it's like, if you adapted the books faithfully, it would have been as big, if not bigger, as Game of Thrones. It would be the biggest show on the planet.
It would have destroyed Game of Thrones ratings. Game of Thrones was a niche that became popular. Harry Potter is one of the most popular franchise that you are turning into a niche for the modern audience. You're going backwards. And honestly, like, this is the one other thing about Hollywood is I don't know if it came down to money. I don't know if someone in Hollywood just didn't think of it, or if they are just forced to do these considerations per the studio or executives. You have perfect casting choices in Cillian Murphy, in Adam
Driver.
Thank you, and Adam Driver. Like, the audience is doing most of your work for you.
Could you imagine a fan casted show?
Oh, it'd be the biggest show in the fucking world. It'd be so easy to be billions of dollars.
It's like, all right, we're gonna adapt Harry Potter. You wouldn't send out a casting list, but you'd be like, all right, everyone, we're voting on who's being cast in each one, and just like everyone's available or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like,
Nice hypothetical.
I know. It would be insane. It's like Reed Richards, who played him, John Krasinski.
Mm-hmm.
That was fan casted, and we got Reed Richards in Doctor Strange mom.
Yeah.
Multiverse. That was fan casted. Everyone loved it, and then they're like, "Bop, dead."
Yeah.
So it's like, all right.
Yeah, John Krasinski was, I think, an amazing Reed Richards. I think he would have been, like, long-term, would have been the best choice.
Casted. And then they listened once, and then he got 5 minutes of screen time.
Yeah.
And now we got Pedro Pascal playing him again.
Oh, and I don't know, man. We went over the trailer. I'm not as optimistic as you are. I mean, or as like we can be. Like, we can be optimistic. I'm not there. I don't know. I don't see any reason to suspect this is going to be the movie. I don't see The Thing. I don't see Johnny Blaze. I don't see or Johnny in Johnny Storm, not Blaze. That's a Ghost Rider. But I don't see any of these actors and see any level of charisma that like hooks me on them, and I don't think they have the talent to pull together this film and make it big. And also, Pedro Pascal, he's benefiting from a cup that runneth over. He's like, is he going to attach himself to Marvel for the next 10 years?
I guess so. I mean, same goes with what's his name? John Esposito, that guy that's in fucking everything now and plays the bad guy because he was a good bad guy in Breaking Bad.
Oh,
no, he's in everything, and then like he's a beloved actor and people love him.
Yeah,
but those people are even like, all right, dude, he's being cast in everything, playing the same role. We're done.
Right. And yeah, so the Professor Snape thing, I think we should move on to another story, cover other things, because
it's bad, it sucks, now no one cares.
Nobody cares. Nobody gives a shart.
Even though it's going to be the most watched series right out the gate, and then people will drop off immediately.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's what happened with Rings of Power, right? Like, we've only seen that show decline. They have not had a single day of, like, comeback.
Yeah, but I won't say it was watched by a lot of people either.
The pilot was. Like, the pilot was something like 100 and something million viewers on the pilot.
According to who? Amazon?
Well, fair point. But I mean, those also have, I'm pretty sure those numbers are public now. I think they had to release financial records on that for 2023.
So I think like no one gave a shit. Like,
you and I have both met normies who have watched the show.
Yeah, my family's watched it.
My family's watched it. Like, we both have normies who've watched the show. So there's no reason to assume that it's only had a small viewership for the pilot, at least.
But for those normies, I can see the hype being there more for a Harry Potter franchise than a Lord of the Rings spin-off franchise.
I think that's a fair
normies.
It's a fair point.
Us, Lord of the Rings is goated.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the god tier.
And so, like, immediately when they do this shit, it's like, we're out.
Although I do think Peter Jackson is overrated. I think that original trilogy is good.
I'll concur.
Yeah. All right, we're going to move on to our next story. We are going to be talking about Snow White. So the movie comes out very soon. We have something to look forward to, I suppose. But some of the most recent news, Disney reportedly doesn't know what to do with out-of-control Rachel Zegler as Snow White promotion falls apart. This show has it's not falling apart now. This show has never, not a single moment of its public appearance or notification. Like, no one has ever known anything about this show and maintained a positive view of it in any moment.
It's a movie.
Not the point. Absolutely not the point. But there's
You
not
said show like 4 times, so I feel like I had to correct
fair
you.
enough. But no one has ever maintained a positive perspective on what this movie could look
No,
like.
this thing was dead from the get-go, and they've held on to it for so long.
Remember the first promotional thing we saw of it? It was the dwarf, like the 7 diversity hires.
the 7
photo.
mythical creatures or whatever.
Yeah. That was the start.
No, that's actually part of the movie. There's those characters, and then there's also the dwarves, apparently.
Are you and I talking about the same thing? The photo, the one single shot photo that came
in
out
like
early.
a meadow or whatever
Yeah.
in there. Yeah.
Okay, so that's okay. So we're talking about the same thing. Those were supposed to be the dwarves. Those were like an idea of like the dwarfs for like
That was the thinking at the time, but
Yes.
those are actual like characters, I guess, in the movie.
interesting. Like back.
I don't fucking know. But yeah, no, like the first promotional. No, because yeah, even before those pictures came out, it was the first promotional thing about it was Rachel and Gal on like some sort of carpet or whatever doing an interview where it's like, "Oh, we're not gonna make it as like the man, saves a woman. He's kind of a stalker. And it's kind of weird." And it's like all that bullshit.
weird. Well, and so here's the news. Disney executives can't control Rachel Zegler. So an insider over at an insider's told Page 6, Disney has tried multiple times to get Zegler to tone down her controversial statements, but she has refused to comply. Disney's lead actress is out of control, the movie insider said. They don't know what to do. She's an outspoken 20-something, and Disney chiefs have called her directly and asked her to tone down her posts. They've called her management, but she won't listen.
That's what I was gonna say. Is like, she's a dumb early 20s. I think she's 23 or whatever, living in Hollywood. What the fuck do you expect her to do or think? It's like she's gonna be dumb. She's gonna be outspoken on social media because social media is everything.
And the best thing about this is that it's not a lesson to be learned for them. They are not going to stop hiring stupid people to play roles.
No, you know how they hire people? BT Dubs, this came out from, I think, Maya Hawke, Ethan Hawke's daughter, is that they're hiring people based on followers on Instagram.
Well, there you go. Disney turning to influencers instead of press. With Zegler proving to be a PR nightmare, Disney has apparently made the decision to skip traditional press interviews, instead rely on successful or carefully selected influencers to help shape the film's publicity. Disney is leaning towards having influencers interview Rachel and Gal for promotion days on Monday and Sunday. An industry insider told Page 6 they want to concentrate on the content. First off, no, they don't want to concentrate on the content. We don't have to take that at face value. That's not true. Now, but the influencer thing makes a lot more sense now, since it appears like if they want to turn away from traditional media, where they go to influencers, and they can use that for their casting. They can use that for their press. They can manipulate a lot harder with money, sweet money. Plus, it's probably cheaper. I bet interacting with popular influencers is probably cheaper than going to mainstream news journalists setting up major interviews and such.
My favorite thing to come out of this movie is that we got Israel and Palestine conflict in the movie itself.
Did we have a story on that? I don't think we did have a. I don't know if we did have a story on that.
Rachel
Zegler
Zegler has gone on social media like free Palestine or whatever, from the river to the sea, which they don't even know what that fucking means.
Yep.
And Gal Gadot is Israeli. She's served in the military.
That's
she's done all.
Because before we sat down, I had heard this story, but
they're
not read
not
up on it.
promoting it together at all. They've been separated.
And we got. Oh, actually, we should talk about that first, because Disney. Nope, that's the wrong one. Okay, yeah. So mainstream media continues to blame fans and Gal Gadot for Snow White PR nightmare instead of Rachel Zegler. So I love that in one entire story, one day, they're talking about how it's Gal Gadot and the fan base's fault. First off, a fan base for Snow White feels a little bit like.
There's a fan base for Gal Gadot.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah,
but
very cute.
She's very pretty.
Very cute.
A pretty girl. Sorry, that's so fucking weird. I'm so sorry.
She's older. It's fine.
She needs the compliments. But the So 2 months ago, the dislike ratio on the Snow White trailer was 1 million to 40,000 for dislikes to likes. Over 1 million dislikes to 40,000 likes. So take that.
You know what Disney's not getting out of this though?
What's that?
is that people don't like the live action remakes
No.
of beloved animated movies. This one's from almost 100 years ago now.
I would
But I was against this. I think it started with The Lion King in 2019.
that sounds
There's
right.
been like 20 of them since then.
I know The Little Mermaid was after. I know that Tarzan was before.
Well, there's been multiple people that have done Tarzan.
Right.
Because I don't think Tarzan's a Disney property anymore. But
that's interesting. I didn't hear that.
it's like, so they made Gangbusters with The Lion King. Obviously, it did fucking phenomenal. Which annoyed the fuck out of me.
You could have put a turd on screen for an hour and a half, and it still would have made big money because people would have still bought the ticket to go give it a shot.
Yeah. It's like, I've never been a fan. I haven't watched any of the live actions. Have you?
Oh yeah. So obviously I watched The Lion King. I watched the Tarzan. I watched
How was the Lion King one?
I had good things to say about it. The issue that people have, they're stuck on the
done by Jon Favreau.
The issue that people have, it doesn't matter if
he cares about shit.
So. Right. Okay, I got you.
He's a director that cares.
I thought you were saying because he was involved, it wasn't good.
No.
But okay, so the cast choice was horrid. Jamie Oliver, Seth Rogen, Beyonce, like horrible voice acting cast. All it did was break the immersion for me. Now, if you're a kid who has no idea who people, like if you're a kid who's not paying attention, and it's your first PG movie that you're seeing, and you don't know who Seth Rogen is, and you don't know who Beyonce is.
He played Pumbaa, didn't he?
Yeah, he played Pumbaa. You don't know who Oliver is. You're probably fine. It's your first interaction. I mean, like if you saw this before seeing the original, you probably enjoyed it. Probably enjoyed it a lot, actually. But there were the things I liked about it were that I thought the CGI looked very good on the setting. On the actual lines themselves, left a lot to be.
It went for realistic, and you can't do that when you're adapting a
cartoon
Disney film where the lines are super expressive. In there.
The cartoon did a better job of doing expression than the CGI, which is ironic because you invest so much more money into failing. But
millions and millions of dollars.
But I would say that like the biggest issue that a lot of people criticized when it came to like the public sphere that like we're in, was they criticized the CGI, saying the CGI is bad. That's the minor point. It's not even important enough to really be the focus of criticism. The issue was the voice acting was bad. The issue was they changed lines that were pivotal. They cut out they cut out the scene of the "Can You Feel the Love Tonight" scene. They cut that out. They cut that down. They had knowledge.
Wasn't that Elton John? You can't.
How dare you cut out a gay song?
How dare you cut out gay Elton John?
How dare you, sexist, homophobe? But yeah,
it's because the lion gave fuck me eyes or whatever.
Yeah. It's like watching two robots try to fall in love. I don't know.
No, that song's iconic, man.
It was. So, but then they also made like Beyonce, Nala just totally bitchy. Like a lot of the time she was like snarky and like really God. They weren't. Yeah, it was very, very, very far away from feeling like the same characters from the original movie. As someone who, you're not going to beat me on this, no one's going to beat me on this because I like The Lion King.
Challenge accepted.
The Lion King was the first film I ever watched. Like the first film I ever watched.
It came out when I was born. I watched it in the womb.
I saw that film when it was being developed. I was being developed. Like we developed at the same time.
We were both being developed at the same time.
We were both lions from different worlds. So yeah, the setting felt very good. The setting looked good. Like the CGI made the scenes of the African scenes, the background look really beautiful. I liked that. I don't think they did their best I don't think they did what they could do to remain good faith adaptation to the original version. I think the CGI did make the lions look really bad. So yeah, I would say that The Lion King had a lot of problems, but I think that the critics were focusing on CGI when the other elements of like how the characters feel compared to the first one, how the voice actors did, the lines they took and changed or removed entirely, they were focusing on way the wrong thing.
Did they have that Hitler song with Scar and the hyenas?
I can't remember. I think so. I'm pretty sure that was in there, but I think I'm not remembering correctly.
Well, it's like we're 6 years past that, and they've done multiple remakes.
Mm-hmm.
They did Aladdin, which I don't really give a fuck. they've butchered one of my favorite ones of all time.
Mulan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mulan. I know.
That one pissed me off. I was like,
You have every reason to be pissed
there's
off.
no way I'm gonna fucking watch this. And it's like, oh, we're gonna thank the Uyghur camps that we filmed in.
Jeez. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, and I think between we're 6 years past like the start of we're gonna make every beloved animated movie that we had into live action. We're 6 years past that, so there's a little bit of hate going on there with this Snow White. And then also you got the actresses being complete bitches, and the removal or changing of story, because like she's not fair as in fair of skin, she's fair as in she's the most fair person. Like everything's communist, I guess. Yeah. It's like everyone gets everything. It's like, who's the most fairest of them all? It's like, oh, Snow White's pretty fair. She's been treating these dwarves like they're commie puppets.
Yeah. Everyone gets something.
Everyone gets a slice of bread.
Everyone gets a hamburger and fries.
Get in line.
Extra large. Everybody gets the extra large fries.
There are no extra large anymore.
Everyone gets an apple. You get an apple. You get an apple.
As long as they're not tariffed.
So the Dragon of Gal Gadot in the controversy. So while Zegler has done plenty to stir controversy, THR bizarrely tries to place some of the Snow White blame on Gal Gadot as well. This seems as though it could be some kind of media marching order, as just a day before Variety, Mark Malkin made a similar push. Unlike Zegler, who has gone out of her way to antagonize. Jesus Christ.
So I wasn't even looking. I was like, what the fuck are you saying?
She's gone out of her way to antagonize the fan base. Gadal's only so-called controversy is her insertion that she's a proud Jewish woman and sharing support for her home country of Israel while receiving an award for the Anti-Defamation League. Yeah, probably. I mean, that's really...
Yeah, it's kind of weird to have your co-star being like, no, we want to kill all the Jews.
Yeah, that's my favorite story.
I'm a 23-year-old and I know it's right.
Yeah, it's...
I know everything about this 1,000-year-old conflict.
So all of the drama comes from Rachel Zegler, basically. Do you think this show... Okay, let's step back for a moment. Take our own position out of this. Like, just try to look at it from the holistic view of the market. Do you think that outside of Rachel Zegler's comments, outside of the pop culture sphere of the internet, like addressing, reading up, being informed, speaking on it, and all of those criticisms of it, do you think that with a successful marketing campaign that this movie could do well? And again, I want to be like as unbiased as possible. You and I think like bad of this film.
I mean, money, like mathematically wise, no, it's not going to make money, period.
Okay.
Because it's been shelved for like 2 years now, I want to say, because of the controversy. And then the marketing's just expanded since then. So I want to say like the marketing's even ballooned above the ridiculous budget to make the movie. It's like, there's no way in hell this movie will be successful. I think there's like I don't think anyone really gives a fuck about these Disney movies anymore.
I think that has a lot to do with Disney as a company. And I mean, the movies themselves are flops. So I wanted to try to like good faith at this, but you are right.
When this comes out, we should just like hover over our theater's like attendance.
Just look at the map and see how seats are open. Yeah.
Just so you can have like a anecdotal kind of like, no one went to see this or everyone went to see this kind of thing.
Yeah. One more story related to this. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. No, go ahead.
Snow White actor admits Disney scaled back movie premiere due to fear of Rachel Zegler controversies, criticizes the dwarf changes, but repeats the studio's revisionist history. So they had to, this is a story that broke, that they had to dial back the premiere because people were concerned that it was going to flop at the premiere and Rachel Zegler was just going to create more problems.
I like how the blame's been all on her.
That's a good point. Like the studio has a lot to say or to be like criticized
There's
for as well.
controversy with her. There's controversy with the dwarves. There's controversy of the remakes. There's plenty of controversy.
Yeah, this movie was a bad idea. Okay, actually, here's I think a really good question. Do you think that in a okay, starting fresh, let's say it's 2005. Let's say it's 2005. Do you think that before the culture war became super mainstream and we had a lot of the movies we have today and a lot of the comparisons, it's before Disney has the culture war position that they have today. Do you think that there would have been, with good directing, a decent cast, and an actual good intent, that there would have been some merit to the argument that live actions would be a good idea, a new medium for telling the story?
Back then, yes, because creators in Hollywood actually cared. Like, there's what's that fucking Cinderella movie that came out that people actually fucking enjoyed? There was a live action remake of Cinderella, and this was early on before. When the fuck did it come out?
I'm thinking about the idea is that, like, the idea behind the question is, if there is a merit to the argument that good live action remake of a movie can be made if you have passionate creators behind it who care about the source material, who care about doing a good job on it, and they don't like neutralize the political arguments and just get your actors to be like just act.
Well, it's like I still like my favorite Disney movies are like Mulan, Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yes, I rewatched that again the other month.
Hercules. Like, I don't want them
live action remade.
Even like back in the day where it's like we got, say it's done competently, I still don't want to see a live action of them. Is
this a boomer position though? Because here's my thought. It's probably the same argument that was made for
2015 is when the Cinderella one that people actually liked came out.
Okay. This is probably the same argument people made for like why the books and stuff should not be turned into films at all. Right? Like people who are like, we love these original stories, we don't think they're going to be done well on film. That's probably the same argument.
Well, I mean, you get like, say when it comes to like anime and whatnot, you basically like a show and then you deep dive into like basically going to the ending and getting all the spoilers, but you still enjoy watching how it's adapted.
I think
so. You have a better position on this than I do.
I think you're right. I mean, I like having multiple varieties of the same medium and the same story, and a lot of that comes from there's things you lose out in every medium. So when you have books, you can be as detailed as you want. The restriction, you have no real restrictions that come at you from the real world. It's teleprompter meets page, or not teleprompter, typewriter meets page, and then you just create the book with your unlimited imagination. You can be as detailed as you want. In film, you have the limitations of modern technology. You can't get everything that's in your head on the screen. So there is something you miss from a movie. But then you also gain something back from the movie in the form of like the visuals hold your hand and walk you through it, and you're not working as hard and you're enjoying the story maybe a bit more if it's told well. So, and all of this assumes that every version of the medium is being told in its best possible light. But and then you have manga. Like, so you're right with anime. I will watch an anime that's based on a manga, and then I will read back to the manga while I'm enjoying the show, or maybe even ahead of the show, and like enjoy the manga the whole time while I am like just like seeing that unveil on screen. I'm under the impression I'm a pretty rare duck when it comes to that, though. I'm under the impression most people do not like the manga spoiling the show or the show adapting the manga.
Right. Well, like when it came to like My Hero, which we'll talk about maybe in a little bit.
Yeah.
But I what it was like season 4 or whatever. You're like, I already know how this thing fucking ends.
Yeah.
It's like we got 4 seasons to go. Dude.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be.
You did the same with Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
You knew the ending. It's like, I don't know how you get into that mindset where it's like, all right, I like this show, I'm gonna spoil the fuck out of myself.
It's sort of like, well, first off, there's
more interested in the story, I guess, than anything else.
Well, so Attack on Titan there's a better argument for spoilers being bad in Attack on Titan than My Hero Academia. My Hero Academia is a shonen. There are no spoilers. There is no way to be spoiled. You know the ending of every shonen. Every
pretty
character
much, I
that
guess.
every character that main character likes or is fond of or is a quote unquote friend is going to survive
Bakugo
Make it
doesn't
to the
stay
end.
dead.
and make it to the end. Well,
He's currently being revived right now.
yeah, he's being revived
He's
right now.
being revived for the past year.
So shonens are one thing where it doesn't matter what you know about the shonen, it's still going to unveil. And the thing that makes a shonen awesome is the adaptation, the visuals, the animation, the fight scenes, the way the voice actors portray it. There's a lot you do not get from a manga, like as far as like representation. Like you do not get you do not hear the voice of the character. You do not see the movement flow in its best form as you do on like television. So
It's like, have you read books after watching the movie or show or whatever?
most no, but I would say Tolkien, like Tolkien's universe. As soon as like after, or, I'm
So
sorry.
who you see in those books are who you saw on screen, right?
Okay, so Peter Jackson's trilogy, mostly, almost all of them. I really miss that we did not get Bill the Pony. He did not get any.
What'd you call me?
Bill the Pony in Lord of the Rings. But I'm making a joke. But
Is that like Build a Bear? But it's
you're up to speed on the Tolkien lore. You know who Bill the Pony is.
I know a bit,
Okay,
not
so
as much as you do.
Bill the Pony comes from Bag End with Sam and helps them all the way through their journey and such. And then he gets scared away at the Watcher when they go into Moria when they're by the Watcher.
Oh,
So in Peter Jackson's,
it's literally the fucking pony.
yeah, literally the fucking pony. Bill the Pony is a hero. Oh, we got who we got? Ian. Sorry, but I doing my best. Keep going, guys. We you will make it one day. 1010 commentary, dude. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the love and support, buddy.
But like when it comes to like me, so I've only read I think one book before seeing the movie,
Hmm.
and that was Dan Brown's Inferno. You know,
Yeah.
Da Vinci Code,
Yep.
Angels, Demons.
Um,
I read Inferno before that movie came out, and I couldn't make it 10 minutes into that movie before I was like, "This is fucking shit, man."
But no, so like with Tolkien, like after Lord of the Rings, after Hobbit, after the video games that come out, and people were telling me like I had not read the books until this point, and I was looking at Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor, and I was like, this is kind of bizarre and silly. Like, what am I missing here? I know that they messed with Ghost in Peter Jackson's trilogy. I know they messed with monsters and trolls in all the projects. And Hobbit was kind of bizarre, and like wargs could talk and shit. So I was starting to be like, what is actually the rules of this universe? What is Tolkien's original vision? And so I read The Hobbit, then I read The Lord of the Rings, then I read The Children of Hurin, The Silmarillion, Fall of Gondola. Like I read all of them. Baron and Luthien was actually the last one I read, and I was holding out because I was told that one, like in your read list, you should read Baron and Luthien last. And holy shit, dude. Rings of Power came out the same year I finished reading out on the Tolkien like read list. And I was
That's a horrible coincidence.
I was infuriated. I was genuinely offended and pissed off. And the main one thing that pissed me off the most was there are about 20, 30 major, and there's a lot of them, but major YouTube channels that focus on Tolkien lore. And like 10 of them got brought out to the UK.
They got the gift baskets.
They
They
got-
got flown out to watch the premiere, so they're gonna show for them.
Exactly. And they, like, some of them haven't stopped. Hey, dude, really appreciate you subscribing, man. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. Hey, we are paying attention to the chat. If you got any questions on the topics we're going through, or if there's something you want to throw out, feel free. I'll do my best to read it out. So on Rings of Power, yeah, the Tolkien YouTubers I was following, so many of them went on that trip, came back, and they were singing, oh, you got to give it a shot. It's like they were singing kind of like a mild tune. They weren't saying it's the greatest film ever. They were saying it's a good faith adaptation. We have good reason to suspect that these guys are going to be faithful to the lore. We brought up our concerns to them, and they heard us out. And then the first episode of the fast forward like a year.
Brought up the concerns means nothing when watching a premiere because the whole show is already done.
Yeah. So, and exactly. And so the first episode comes out. I'm watching Galadriel and
Guy Ladriel.
Guy Ladriel, and what an abomination that show is. There's not a okay. Someone brought this up to me the other day. on Rings of Power. They said, "Hey, have you watched Rings of Power? I really like that show. It's really good." I was like, "You like it? Why? What about it do you like?" And he's like, "I love that it's more Lord of the Rings stuff." I was like, that has nothing to do with Tolkien's universe. It's a complete fan fiction made into a TV show.
She
It's a
likes
$1 billion
elves and dwarves. And
Yeah.
it's like, therefore,
I kept going. I was like, it's a $1 billion nightmare. The show has a huge drop off season 1 to season 2. And I asked him, I was like, what do you like about the show? And then his response was, who's Tolkien? I was like, what the actual? I wanted to punch
did you
him
smack
out.
him?
I wanted to, but I am a very reserved person who does not say
Like my sister just said that she was watching Rings of Power and was enjoying it, and I almost hit her.
The person I was talking to had no idea who Tolkien was. He just liked that Lord of the Ring was on the cover of the box. That's all. There was nothing else there's nothing in that show to like. The acting
Did he
quality.
also wear a dress?
No, he did not. But man, where was I going with that? The Rings of Power debacle is an absolute travesty, and it's going to happen with every IP that gets touched by a major corporation. Rings.
Well, it's like, all right, so
Think Amazon with James Bond. That is doomed. James Bond is fucked royal. There is not like, especially
well, are there any other like? All right, no, there are. I know for you, it's like reading, watching, knowing the source material.
Halo.
And then I was just gonna say that. And then someone comes out with this adaptation of it.
Yep.
Fallout's a good example for me too, because I love Fallout a long time before that show came out.
There's really mixed reviews on Fallout. Some people really liked it. A lot of people didn't.
It's more positive than anything, and I don't like it. There's that excuse that goes around where it's like, it's Fallout. It's supposed to be weird and dumb. It's like, no. You can be smart about it. It doesn't have to be dumb because there are some quirky things that happen.
Right.
But like I wanted to get to, like, I'm reading, one of my favorite shows of all time is The Expanse.
Oh, I fucking love that show.
And I'm reading all the books. I'm like on 5 or something right now.
Hard recommend to anyone listening. It's The Expanse is an amazing show, and
It's better books.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the thing, right?
No.
Most are better. Most books are better than most shows.
1 through 3 are almost like scene for scene, kind of like just we're adapting the book just insanely. And that was 1 through 3 books, and 1 through 3 seasons were a 1-for-1, and that was done through Sci-Fi. The Sci-Fi Channel. I don't know if you guys know about this. There was a channel called Sci-Fi.
No, yeah, I knew that, but I did not know the show was on Sci-Fi before it was on Amazon.
It was on Sci-Fi, and then they canceled it. And then there were
I did not know that.
A fuckload of people just like begging Bezos to buy. It's basically like today's age. It's like, Elon, please buy this thing I love so you can fix it.
Hasbro.
It was basically the same thing, only for Bezos.
Yeah.
And Amazon bought it. And the 4th book is drastically different. I mean, 3, there's characters that aren't in the show that are in the books, and then kind of departures from there to where like Amazon's kind of getting their foothold and they're just doing their own thing, like killing off Alex and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's an example to where like, so Inferno, Dan Brown, I read it and then watched the movie, fucking hated it. I watched all of The Expanse and then going back and reading it, and I'm loving it, and I'm actually like comparing the adaptation into my mind and whatnot, and I'm seeing the characters that were on screen and whatnot. And it's good. So there are levels of like
good faith
adaptations and whatnot. And it's like when you're going to, so that's from like book to show, or book to screen, I'll say.
Yeah.
Book to screen. It's vastly different. You're going to get different amounts. But this, and what Disney's doing with all this shit, is you're going from screen to screen. And so you're adapting something that's from a fable or whatever that you're adapting. Put it on screen as an animated movie. Everyone loved it. And now you're adapting that adaptation and ends up just referencing itself. This is the problem that Star Wars has.
Oh, Star Wars is, yeah. Yep. That's actually, whenever you want to have this conversation about good faith adaptation and people are like, why do you care? Why do you care if it's lore accurate or not? All you have to do is point to Star Wars and just say, they killed the most American and most successful cinema franchise that has ever been created by any metric, even across time. There has not been a single franchise, a single work of art or history that has done more for culture than Star Wars has. And they have doomed it. Every movie now, every show is a financial disaster / flop. Everything is a woke or DEI like total message to the audience, and it's just it's not even fan fiction. It's like anti-fan fiction, where they're just people who hate the Star Wars franchise are getting their hands on the wheel.
Well, I kind of got into this idea of, funnily enough, there's a Rick and Morty episode of it's the clones, where it's like, oh, they killed the clone family or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, like,
are we a clone family?
Yeah. So there's iterations of each one, and each one gets shittier and shittier. So it's like book to film. It's like it can be good, it can be bad, whatever. But you're adapting something from an adaptation of an adaptation, and it just gets shittier and shittier and shittier.
Right. Because I think like even Lion King, right? Like Lion King has, let's work it backwards. You have the Mufasa movie that just came out this December for Christmas. Then you have which
no one watched.
Right.
I forgot about it.
Then you have the live action original movie. Then the original live action movie. Then you have the sequel, the Timon and Pumbaa 1.5 or whatever. Then you have then you have the original.
Then you have like Kimba or whatever from Japan.
Kimba. Then that was based on the White Lion.
That's the one I was talking about.
And all of this, I don't know where the middle ground is. Like, I'm gonna jump back pretty far after this one. All of this is a variant of Hamlet. It's like all of this is just a variant of Hamlet. And then that is probably, I would expect that Hamlet is I mean, I don't know. Maybe Hamlet is an original story, but I would suspect.
I doubt it at this point.
But that's what or it's an amalgamation of multiple stories that are brought into one that tells a really beautiful dramatic story. I mean, I'm not shitting on Shakespeare here.
Well, I mean, you got
saying.
You got the Lion King that's adapted from Hamlet, and you also got the Northman. You remember that the Viking movie? Yep. That's also adapted from Hamlet.
Then you have
how do you compare those two?
But even then, you have Hamlet.
Vastly different.
But then you have Hamlet 2, the sequel. Like Hamlet 2 is way better than the first movie. It's one of the few examples of a sequel being better than the original.
Did it have a first movie, or was it just Hamlet 2?
Hamlet 2 is just the name of the movie, based on, and it's the idea, the premise of the movie is that the main character of the film wants to create a sequel to Hamlet, which already had a conclusory ending. So it was already done. There was nothing else to
I think
do.
we're the only two people that have watched that movie, because I've never heard it referenced by anyone ever.
Hamlet 2 is one of the best comedies that's ever been made. And it's an actor that people recognize from Tropic Thunder. It's like the director from Tropic Thunder is the main character for Hamlet 2.
The guy that plays the director of Tropic Thunder.
Fair enough. It's too meta to like get those right.
No, he's well known in the UK, but in the US now.
Hamlet 2, strong recommend. It's hilarious. It's a great comedy. We should move on to another story. Let's finish this one up by saying Snow White next week, or I think it's next week or the week after.
No one cares.
It's going to be a bloodbath. This movie is going to be wrecked. I have no idea what the budget for it is. Do you have the numbers for the estimated budget for the film?
I mean, it's pre-release. It's very much up to what the studio says it is. So
right.
I don't even know.
We might not have a valid number for that. What would you guess? Would you say 2 million or 200 million?
My personal guess for the budget of this movie, pre-marketing.
Yeah.
I would say 250 to 250.
250
million. I'm not
million?
gonna leave that big of a gap there.
That's a big number.
Because they've had to do reshoots.
It's almost all CGI.
CGI fucking
well,
dwarfs, because Peter Dinklage is an asshole that pulled up a ladder behind him and he's like, "Hey, you can't cast dwarves or anything."
They probably have $5 million just into PR management alone. Like they probably have like a $10 million, $20 million contract with PR management right now. That's failing hard.
Imagine the money that PR's getting. It's like,
dude, and they're getting money to fail. Like everyone just gets rich off absolute failure. It's like the PR team is not managing this well at all.
Failing up, man. That's how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, let's get the shitty actors to say some dumb shit, and then a PR company will fucking clean up.
Well, and it's weird that it is really bizarre that most of these studios are like they'll tell a news. They'll tell.
Shit!
What?
It's got to be way more than I guess then, because the reported budget is 240.
Oh shit.
It's got to be like 350, dude.
What's the source on that? Like, what article?
We got Variety,
Okay.
Movie Web, Yahoo.
I mean,
Yahoo.
Variety gets a lot of exclusives with Disney. So 240 is probably that's probably the low.
reported budget.
That's the reported
I can't
budget.
believe they fucking.
That's pre PR team. That's pre marketing. That's pre theater licensing. That's all of it.
I like how there's this, world. What was it? World of Real. There's like Snow White budget is probably well over $300 million. It's like, yeah, no shit. If they reported 240, you can tack on another 100.
Well, we know that Captain America is ridiculously high, but the reported budget for that was 220.
No, the reported budget for Captain America is 180.
Well, was it? Okay. I defer to
And
you.
they
You probably-
adjusted later and later, and it keeps
Right.
on going up because people got to file taxes, and therefore you get the
I love.
actual number.
Can I just ask? I would love for like the next big move from Trump to be like, hey, we're gonna go look at all these major Hollywood studios who just keep lying on their tax forms over $100 million projects or multi-$100 million projects. We're gonna go get some of that money. We're gonna go.
So
I'm not pro audit.
This is-
I'm not pro tax, but I'm just gonna say if you are in an entire state that is basically the how far can we go with taxes state, you don't really get to call me a hypocrite if you don't want to pay your taxes properly. So just saying.
well, this is kind of mind blowing because, like, the reshoots and whatnot regarding Snow White aren't that like well known or anything. Everyone knew about reshoots and whatnot when it came
Yeah.
to Captain America. And they report 100. So this movie costs $60 million reportedly more
Than Captain America. And I had not heard anything about reshoots for this film. That is a new thing for me.
Well-
I've not heard that yet.
Yeah, I've heard like CGI and dwarves and shit all the time, but
Yeah.
that's fucking insane that they reported it as that much. I thought they would lie better.
I thought, yeah. They
Lie better.
do better, Senator. You got to do better, Disney. All right, we do have to move on to other stories. We got other topics we got to talk about. So let's jump into the next one. This one's going to be fun. I am actually excited to talk about this one. This could be good. All right, let's move
This
it.
one might piss me off.
We'll do our best to piss you off, Cody. That's what we're here for. All right, guys, let's move into the next story. We are talking about The Last of Us. What's his position? The director for the game director?
We're talking about Alex Garland.
Yeah.
Alex Garland is the writer and director of the upcoming film sequel, 28 years later, which is 28 days later, 28 weeks later.
28 years later. Gotcha.
28 years. Yeah. We skip months.
We skip months.
Yeah.
28 months later would have been like, this.
I mean, 28.
What's the difference between a month and a week, really? I mean, aren't they the same thing? 28 of them. What makes a difference? 28.
But he's saying he's got influence from The Last of Us. Okay, this could mean many things, by the way.
Let me read the whole thing down.
Read it.
Then, okay, so from Culture Crave, which is a source we've cited on the channel before, we think they put out great shit. Alex Garland says 28 years later is influenced by The Last of Us. He also believes the writing in the games is far better than his in 28 days later. It's so much more sophisticated. I was like, shit. It felt like someone saying, raise your game. So we can run with that. Let's start it from the top. 28 years later is based on a franchise. 28 weeks and 28 days later are both beloved. I'd say they're cult classics more. Like they're more like
28 weeks later before I saw 28 days later.
Yeah.
That was a Danny Boyle film back in like fucking 3 or some shit.
Was that Cillian Murphy's premiere performance?
That was one of his
early?
first big ones, I want to say.
Cillian Murphy's only gone up from here. So yeah. So 28 years later was anticipated to be absolutely amazing. Like people were really hopeful. And there was reason to be because the franchise is really beloved. So you're going to get a lot of people who are just cult fanatics of the original 2 movies who are going to give this movie a shot and give it a chance. The fact that you have the main person or one of the big people in charge of the project who's now referencing to Last of Us as a huge success or as something to be emulated, Cody, run with it. I mean, like get pissed, get angry.
this,
You
like
gotta
I
get
said,
mean.
like
That's
I said,
the way
this
to
can
win.
go multiple ways. It's like if he's regarding The Last of Us Part 1, I can see
Sure.
that because it's a beautifully written story. It's very different from the 28 franchise, I'll say. Because it's more like it's more of a father-daughter kind of story in The Last of Us, and that really doesn't have anything to do with 28.
Right.
28 is more just like zombies.
Classic zombie. Classic zombie. It spreads. They bite. They become zombies.
Yeah. So it's like I can get the motivation or the inspiration of just having a more like grounded, like we're gonna tell a story about a couple of people or whatever.
Yeah.
I get that. But if he's like referencing like the story as a whole, it's shit. If he's not like, oh, it's, well, what did he say? He said it was better than the writing for 28 Days.
Yeah. It's so much more sophisticated. I was like, shit. It felt like someone saying, raise your
28
game.
Days reinvigorated the zombie franchise as a whole.
I would say so. I mean, but 28 Days Later is first off an amazing role by a lot of the actors who were in it. I think the performances were top tier. I think among zombie films, I think it's definitely up there in like the top 10 as far as the quality of your zombie horror film and horror project. I think that you have a lot of.
I mean, it basically paved way for fucking The Walking Dead, which is now a dead franchise that still kicks on and making a bunch of fucking side shit.
Was Robert Kirkman, I think is his name.
Yeah.
Which I should be getting right because we're going to be talking about Invincible later. But
Invincible.
Robert Kirkman had first off, the show itself had a lot of variant between the show and the original comic book series that he had. Which
it
is
dipped
fine.
Off of like season 2 or 3 or something.
Yeah, so there was a lot of variety in like how the story was told between the two mediums, which was one, I would say, a good thing in favor of the show because the comic book got really bizarre and got really weird, and it had a bunch of characters in it that were going to turn it into something very cyberpunk-esque, where like a lot of the characters look really weird in where they are. You have one character, I think, who's like wearing vibrant pink all over the place. And I don't remember what kind of weapon she wields, but they go.
Oh yeah, I remember that chick. Chick that was in the city. Yeah.
They get really weird in some of the comic book after so much time. But yes, the actual show itself I think remained good through Negan, and then fell off really really hard post Negan. And I think it was because you killed off Carl. You had killed off a bunch of other characters that were like
killed off Glenn. You killed off Abraham.
Yep. That was, I think those were the big mistakes.
I think it was after season 5 because just gonna go on a side tangent with Walking Dead. You had Rick in season 5 being like this badass, take no shit kind of we're done fucking placating to like, oh, these might be nice people because he survived Terminus and whatnot when they were eating people, and it was like. And then they kind of resorted back to it, and I think that's when the show was starting to fall off, is when Rick started to regain his humanity.
Yep. When everything started to settle down and calm down, and they weren't the survivors anymore. They were like they
were suburbia again, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So as soon as it calmed down, and I mean, I get it. That show needed to run forever. They never wanted that show to end. They never wanted the success to end. But realistically, if you can give a show a good payoff, even if it's like, hey, they never figured out how zombies go away. They always learned to live with it, and they learned to grow. They learned how to kill off zombies, so that was less and less of a problem. But they did survive. The story is told. We're done. This is the story of how they get from the start of the apocalypse to a sustainable place. Never get back to modern. But
I think Alexandria pretty much killed the show. But like when it comes to 28 years later and Alex Garland and whatnot, taking inspiration from Last of Us, I can see it being a good thing if he's referring to 2013's Last of Us. People forget that the fucking game's 12 years old already. But Alex Garland and his writing resume is fucking insane to me. So it goes, he did not direct these. He wrote 28 Days Later, Sunshine, which is one of my favorite movies of all time.
mm-hmm.
He wrote 28 Weeks Later, Dread, which is the remake of Judge Dredd. You know,
Yep, I know that.
everyone loves that one. Ex Machina, which is considered a great fucking sci-fi movie. Annihilation, man, Civil War, which we saw, and we were actually pleasantly surprised with Civil War. That was Kirsten Dunst goes on the road show and during the Civil War with the camera crew. Remember
Yeah, I do.
that? Okay.
Keep going. I'm with you. What I was
So he's got a great writing career and directing career, and he's taking notes from
a franchise that's dying.
Neil Cuckman.
Yeah. Well, the other point of this is that okay, so we actually had news. I forgot to pull up the article, but Last of Us Part 3 for the series, the show, is canceled. Like, they're not doing a season, or they're not doing another extension.
Yeah,
to the
Neil
project.
Druckmann, the basically head honcho over at Naughty Dog, the destroyer of Naughty Dog,
Mm-hmm.
basically said it was like, yeah, there's not going to be a part 3.
Yeah, I wanted
It's
to.
I wonder why, because no one liked part 2.
Yeah.
Even though everyone says like part 2 is awesome, it did so well. It's like all the discourse online is part 2 sucks dick.
Part 2 is terrible. Also, you had the like, didn't the girl become like a hulking like she-boy? And didn't they have?
Yeah, like basically a woman bodybuilder.
Yeah,
Be a protagonist / antagonist in the game.
I pulled this up on screen. Timing wise, I kind of fucked up the timing on when I put it up. But so the reason I wanted to bring this up, this is an audio drama called We're Alive. It's a story. We're Alive, a story of survival. These guys are amazing. These guys are so talented. They're absolutely phenomenal. It's a long-running series. They have several spin-offs, and it's a zombie survival story that basically takes, like, the original series takes place in LA, where an outbreak happens, and you follow the main character to this apartment complex called the Towers, and they basically fortify it up and try to survive the zombie apocalypse while maintaining this apartment complex while they're being attacked by other survivor groups. They're running out of resources, and zombies are around. This is a hard recommend, must listen to for anybody who is interested in good zombies, good zombie stories. And it is something you can listen to while doing anything else, because it's not a visual medium. So it's on YouTube. We're Alive. Search We're Alive and start from the beginning. It is an audio drama. Even though they're videos in format, there is no visuals at all. It's all audio. The sound design is phenomenal. The voice acting is perfect. The cast is so good. Nothing bad to say about this entire project. It's a great series. Once you listen to the pilot, you will be hooked. Guarantee it. Or your money back. So I just wanted to throw that out there while we're talking about zombie projects that were inspired. Because Last of Us didn't inspire shit.
Well, Last of Us, the original game, is beloved by everyone. I'll say it was a great game. What the fuck year was it? It had been like 2015 or so.
Mm-hmm.
Living on my own, got a PlayStation, and was like, oh, what's this Last of Us? I don't like horror games, so we'll look at it. And it was so fucking good. It's already a very cinematic, kind of just like story driven
Project
game
yeah.
in itself, so it never needed an adaptation. I don't get this obsession with like so nowadays we're adapting games that are basically already fucking 30-hour movies that are playing.
Right.
So we did it with The Last of Us. We're doing it with God of War that's coming up. And it's like they're already just almost cinematic things.
Yeah. Well, Halo was always a cinematic thing, and then
it's a first-person shooter. It's not cinematic.
Well, I mean, a lot of the games,
like Last of Us, you're basically going from place to place, pressing a couple buttons here and there. You're
right.
It's like Uncharted if you ever played that.
I catch your meaning. Halo. What I was kind of getting at was Halo's cutscenes evolve into, like, between the first 3 games is like 6 hours of cutscene, or some ridiculously large number of hours of cutscene. It might be like 4 or 5, but I'm pretty sure it's like a little bit more. But so you are 100% on point here, and the entirety of the audience is on your side too, with these comments just not making any sense to anybody. and you brought up his record, so I mean, he has something to already be like. He doesn't have to like look at anyone's projects and be like, "Oh, here's where I can grow." Like you're the guy that people say that about. You don't. I mean, there's always opportunities to get better at stuff, but you're not the guy to look at Last of Us and say your projects need to be improved.
Yeah, the comment of it's so much more sophisticated. It's like I don't really agree with that. I mean,
I agree with that.
It's more emotional,
Sure.
But sophisticated, no. It's like you wrote one of the best fucking. Alex Garland wrote one of the best fucking sci-fi movies of. I just burped in the mic.
You're great.
Of the last of like between 2000 and 2010, Sunshine.
Yeah.
Fucking excellent. He wrote that. It's not more sophisticated than that.
Right.
So it's like you don't need to like work up your sophistication. You have sophistication under your belt when it comes to writing.
You don't raise your game from the top. Then your wings melt. You fall to the ground.
All right, Icarus.
Yeah, that's right. This guy needs to chill the out.
But yeah, no, this being that this 28 years later is going to be like a new trilogy, already erased some eyebrows. Like 20 years later, they put out a trailer. Everyone's hyped about it. It's one of the best trailers in the past decade. And everyone's already kind of just like, I don't know, you're already planning a trilogy. Why are you doing that? And now I feel like it's going to go downhill from movie one.
Yep. I'm Cillian Murphy returning to the 28 years later.
Everyone thinks that that's going to be him.
All right. Well, let's move on to more stories. Here? All right. We got some good ones still to look forward to, so let's keep going. Before Disney's sale, George Lucas wrote scripts that would have taken Star Wars in a darker direction with gritty TV show and video games. I would have been all for that. What a huge fucking waste. Think about like your friend, like this is Lucas's like legacy. And it's going to die. Like it's going to be like you could say like his legacy is the OG ones. I'm just like, yeah, you're not going to keep like that fandom is not going to be around in 40 years. They're not going to care or like they're going to remember the OG franchise or OG part of the franchise as the thing that led to the death of Star Wars, not the singularly amazing cultural phenomenon that Star Wars was.
I think we're the last generation to be fans of Star Wars, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Do you think the younger generations give a fuck about Star Wars?
No, I actually don't. I think that video games, I think they have video games to play, but I would expect that the young kids are just happy if they have a game they could play with their parents or if they have shows they could watch with their parents that they both like.
That's on TikTok.
Yeah, and so I don't think that Star Wars alone is something that young people genuinely love. I mean, there's plenty of like think about what Fortnite did with Star Wars. They brought in like the blasters, they brought in the stormtroopers,
the return of Palpatine through Fortnite.
Exactly.
Which is fucking mind-boggling.
And so kids didn't care about Star Wars, they cared about Fortnite, and they were like, "Oh, I remember Darth Vader. That is a cool looking skin." They're not like, "Do you remember when Darth Vader said, 'Luke, I am your father'?"
No, he said, no, I am your father.
Yeah.
It wasn't Luke, I am your father.
Doesn't matter. Not the point. You're right. Not the point.
I care about it more than you, obviously.
Obviously. But no young people care about any of the original story. None of them. You never hear references to that. Is like when they're talking about movies they like, they never talk about Star Wars. They never talk about Star Wars TV shows. They never reference back to the really iconic moments in any of the prequel trilogy or the original trilogy.
So here's where we're gonna get controversial.
It's controversy. It's time. I should get a soundboard that does something cool for controversy.
I like the prequel trilogy way more than I like the OT.
I think I see what you were meaning when you said controversial.
And I will preface this with again with like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings or whatever. We were just in that right timeline where we just grew up watching these great things.
Yeah, I think I was in first grade when I got, or I think I was in like first or kindergarten when I got like my Phantom Menace t-shirt.
Yeah, Phantom Menace came out in 99.
Yep. So yeah, that's about right for me.
Yeah. So I grew up with the prequels, and I liked them significantly better than the OTs.
You and me have had this conversation before. I give the Phantom Menace a tremendous accolade.
You got a hard on for the battle, the last third of that movie.
I do. Well, because it is good. The way the storytelling and the directing.
I'm not arguing.
The way the storytelling and the directing is, just because a lot of the audience who's listening won't know what I'm talking about with my argument that I've made here, may not have listened to that episode. The idea is that if you take the Phantom Menace as an isolated film and you look at the battles between, or the Battle of Naboo, the battle above Naboo, the fight for the throne, or the fight in the throne room, and the duel of fates, all four of those battles are happening simultaneously in the film, and you're cutting from scene to scene, and you are still locked in and know exactly what's happening in all four scenes. The Duel of the Fates music is just banging in the background while all that's going on.
I bet that editor had a fucking heart attack. He's like, I gotta put all these together?
Yeah. But this is the point. This is the accolade, the award. The point I am making is that Star Wars Phantom Menace has the best put together and assembled and directed fight scenes of any film that's ever been created. That the Phantom Menace assembled all four of those battles together better than any movie has done a combination of battles.
Fight in the comment section.
Come at me, bro. You're wrong. So come at me, bro.
How that fight.
Come at me, bro.
I like the
you want to fight, bro? Where are you disrespecting, bro? Sorry.
All right, Randy.
Go ahead. I do respect you, bro.
I like how the fight between Qui-Gon, Obi, and Darth Maul is just now referred to the Duel of Fates. It's just the name of the song.
Yeah.
that pops up, but it's now the Duel of Fates.
And so that was and so but young people don't know or care about the Duel of Fates.
No, they didn't grow up. Like, say...
Young people's references to Maul are when in Clone Wars.
So I'm going to age myself. I was 5 when Phantom Menace came out.
Yep.
All right. Imagine being 5 years old.
Younglings.
Imagine being 5 years old and you watch The Force Awakens.
Ew.
You're like, all right, that's a pretty good movie. It seems like it was just, a remake of a later movie. I know I'm very knowledgeable for a 5-year-old. But then you grow up with the sequel trilogy instead of the prequel trilogy.
I would be like everyone. Here's the thing. Like, if I was blissfully ignorant and watching the sequel trilogy,
you'd be like, no, this makes fucking sense.
Well, I'd be in it, but then I would be listening to everyone around me telling me that it's absolute garbage and trash. And I would not speak up for myself. I would probably give up and just be like, yeah, I would probably conform. Now, this is 5-year-old me.
Yeah.
Modern me is not a
conformist. Well, that's 5-year-old you. And then by the time Rise of Skywalker comes around, it'd be 9-year-old you.
Yeah. Rise of Skywalker, 9-year-old me. You're right. That would be... I wouldn't watch it.
10, yeah.
I don't think I'd watch it. I really don't. I think when I was younger, I did have some...
There's no cohesion.
Well, there was a lot of movies. Think about when we grew up and we had to go to the movie store and we had to go pick a movie. The Star Wars movies were not films we would have picked up off the shelf. In your hypothetical.
No, because I already had them.
Right. Well, in your hypothetical, where we are 5 years old to 9 years old when The Force Awakens and the Rise of Skywalker come out. If we were 5 years old and we were back in our timeline when those movies were coming out and they were on the shelf at the movie store, we wouldn't have watched them.
No, probably not.
And our parents probably wouldn't have taken us to see them in theaters.
Yeah, no.
Does that make sense? That makes sense, right? These are
because your parents wouldn't give a fuck either.
So kids,
you remember
anyone who's listening who's younger than us who doesn't remember a movie store is basically like a public library. And if you don't know what a public library is, a public library is a place where books exist. A movie store was a place where all of the movies, whether they were new release films or movies that had just been out for a long time, were all collected on a shelf. They were organized and so you had a new release section. You had them sorted out by genre and category. So the way you explore a streaming service looking for a film, that's how you did it, but you did it in a store, in person, and you grabbed the disc off the shelf and brought it home. Or a VHS before that. Or a Betamax before. No, but you...
There were porn sections.
So but the idea is that think of every movie you scroll past in your streaming app. That's what we're talking about.
There was a physical copy of that thing.
Yeah, we walked past...
Sitting in a bookshelf.
We walked past 1 billion films in our childhood. probably more than 1 billion films in our childhood, perusing movie store sections, trying to find something to watch that Tuesday night with our, or trying to find a couple of movies to rent for that week.
Well, like a core memory for me is going to watch Revenge of the Sith opening night. Do you think that that would be like a core memory for any kid watching the sequel trilogy?
No, there's the reason that was so memorable for us is because there's a culture around Star Wars that we grew up with that loved Star Wars. Young people past Force Awakens had none of that. They have the love for the Star Wars fandom is like mitigated to these one-off people who are just like, yeah, I loved the last the Last Jedi, or the Last Jedi. The
Force Awakens, Last Jedi,
Thank you.
and Rise of Skywalker.
You have these one-off people who are
Palpatine.
You have these one-off people who are like, I love the Last Jedi. I thought it was really good, actually. Like those people are so fucking rare that they basically are statistical anomaly and don't exist. Like they're not real people; they're ghosts. So
that was 2005 when that came on.
The young people are not going to have those same memories of those films. They will.
I have a core memory of going to Return of the King.
Yep.
Core memory of seeing Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
That was 03.
Some people might still have, some young kids might have memories of Pirates of the Caribbean because those are, they still have some new movies for that.
The first 3 were good.
Marvel is going to be what young people remember. Even though you and I critically ascribe on, or critically break down those Marvel films.
We went to Infinity War opening day. We went to Endgame opening day. No Way Home.
Yep. Young people are going.
I remember the cheers and whatnot.
Young people and kids are going to have those moments from Marvel.
I remember the silence of Infinity War when that ended.
Or when Tony Stark died.
Yeah.
Yeah. Young people are going to have the memories that you're talking about or referencing to Marvel.
Be Marvel.
It's just going to, but it's just going to be Marvel.
Yeah, it's going to be that Marvel. It's not going to be now Marvel.
Right. So there's nothing right. I can't think of anything right now. And most good movies are coming out on streaming platforms rather than out to the theaters.
And No Way Home was made for us.
Yeah, it really was.
Older generation. It wasn't made for...
I would be surprised if young people who went to see No Way Home even knew who Tobey Maguire was.
That blows my mind.
Right? Andrew Garfield even maybe less because there was only 2 films of his. And while they were great films, they didn't perform well.
I wouldn't say they were great films.
Andrew Garfield's movies are amazing, dude. They just are. You need to shut the fuck up. You're wrong.
When'd you get on this high horse?
First off, I can respect a film and not like it at the same time. I can think a movie is objectively amazing while not personally enjoying it. Like, I can think that, like...
That's even worse. They weren't even objectively good films.
They were objectively good films.
No.
Yes, they were.
You can subjectively like it. That's fine. You can like whatever you want.
So what objective criteria are you measuring to say it's bad?
Well, it's like, all right, this argument comes up all the time going back to Star Wars, is that there's polls all the goddamn time of what's the best Star Wars film. Everyone always says Empire, but then you go in the comment section, it's like, Empire is the best film, but Revenge of the Sith is my favorite.
Yes.
So there's objectively, Empire is the best film in that.
Yeah.
And the 6 movies, there weren't made.
Yes.
No one made any movies after that. But everyone subjectively is like, Revenge of the Sith is my favorite.
And you prove my point, because you remember my claim was not that Andrew Garfield was the best film. It's that they were good films. They were objectively good films.
No, they're not objectively good films. No one will say, no, you put a poll up about Spider-Man films, no one's going to say Amazing Spider-Man or Amazing Spider-Man 2 is like the best film or a
you
great
keep
film.
saying that that's my position. My position is not that it is the best film or better than Tobey Maguire or better than Tom Holland. It's that they are good films.
No.
Okay, so we will put that poll up. As soon as we're done here, I will go put that poll up. Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield's films are good films. Yes. Are good films? No.
Yeah,
that will be the poll. I'll be right.
You can't include either of the Spider-Man film, any of the Spider-Man films. You have to just say it's like, yeah.
Yes.
Are these good films?
Are Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man films good films? And I bet
you the comments will be like, they're not good films, but Andrew Garfield is a good Peter Parker.
We'll find out. Fuck you, piece of shit.
I don't know why you decided to hit this as like, they're good films. Like, no, they're not.
So they are, but the trick is that the reason I'm so passionate on that one is because there are so many films out there that are bad, and what I'm hearing
retrospectively, they're better than anything we've gotten in the past few years.
Well, but I mean, good or bad is not a spectrum. There's the average, and then there is above the average or below the average, which indicates good or indicates bad. It's not that you like, if Andrew Garfield's films, all they have to do to be good is be above the average. That is what makes good. You don't have kind of average. You have average as a benchmarker. Average is a quantifiable position to have.
Yeah, but then you got to take in the account of when the people were born.
I have to do that now? Why do I have to do that?
Because they haven't experienced a better shit in the past. They've only experienced it now.
You love how you're talking. I love how you're like articulating your position. Like, I'm not shitting on you. I'm saying that as you're speaking it out, I feel like I've heard this in a comedy somewhere. Like how it's like how you're saying it. It's funny.
Okay, we'll just end this conversation with you're wrong. They're not good films. Andrew Garfield is a good Spider-Man. They're not good films.
All right, we will.
And everyone will agree with me.
We'll find out. We'll see.
You realize how wrong you are all the time?
I thought you wanted to be done with the conversation. I'm good to keep going. But I'm good to keep going. But I only have a few like extra fleeting comments that could be thrown past me before I'm going to grab back onto the conversation.
I'm always right.
You're always right. But I am right.
It's a trope.
I'm guaranteed to be right.
It's a burden to bear.
We jumped so far away from George Lucas's film after we started talking Legacy.
That's right. There was a TV show. That George Lucas was developing that would take place in between 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
And it was supposed to be grittier, more down to earth, almost like that game that was supposed to come out that never came out with called 1313.
Yep.
It explores the underworld of Star Wars universe.
Right.
And so this is going to focus on like bounty hunters and smuggling. It's going to be deep, darker, and one focus on the Jedi.
Let's hold on. I'm going to mute real quick, but yeah, so this is 1313. This is the show or this is
game that was supposed to come out.
Yeah, this is a game that was
ways back now.
Yeah. So I don't think there was any gameplay in it in the trailer. I think it was just a cinematic trailer.
I would say Jedi what's the word for it? It's not Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor kind of explores it a little bit in the games and whatnot, but
and I mean, so in a perfect world, Lucas had retained ownership of Star Wars. I think that how old is Lucas right now?
I don't know, 102.
Yeah, so I mean, he's old. A long time ago in a studio far away. My point is that George Lucas probably like sold off Star Wars, and I thought I remember reading that he sold it off so that he could retire with a huge chunk of cash, and that he wanted Star Wars to keep being made with a studio that had the resources to do it well.
Well, I mean, we go back to this all the time. Sold to Disney. Everyone was hyped on it. He was basically like a handshake with Kathleen Kennedy, which was his producer and Spielberg's producer. She's been around for a long time before then. So it's like, all right, hand it off into good hands. I don't know if George actually really cared that much what happened afterwards. He's like, I got my story told and I've made billions of dollars. So
I couldn't imagine doing that. This might sound disingenuous because $1 billion, $4 billion
would you
is a
give
shit
up
ton of
your
money.
story for $4.5 billion?
I would be homeless before I give up my story. That's not fucking happening. That will never happen. We talked about this. I'd
sell my left nut for that much.
I've made my position on this perfectly clear. I think there is a way for people I think there's a way to protect lore and to protect canon while still opening up the market to explore and use your tool or use your story. So I think that you can have a category of fan fiction and you can have a category of canon and lore and have some entity accrediting things to the lore.
Well, I mean, okay.
I think that's
this in
possible.
a different perspective too. All right, you say, all right, you're basically homeless.
Yes.
And someone offers you...
You're a hobo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
And someone offers you $4 billion for your story and you say no. All right. Sure, I'll believe you on that one. But like, say you're in George Lucas's position that already has millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. So you already have, let's say,
money.
$200 million.
I already have fuck you money. Yes.
So, and then someone comes on and is like, we'll give you billions. Then obviously you're going to say no. Because you're already sitting Gucci.
Well, and why would... Okay, so I'm trying not to like infer motive from George Lucas because that's not really good faith, I don't think. At least for him. I don't see that that's been productive. The if I had so much money after making a franchise as successful as Star Wars, and I realized that this like I was approaching a ceiling, like if I knew that I could not make Star Wars grow anymore. Now, we have the benefit of hindsight where we can look at his projects and be like, that would have been so much better than what we got. He doesn't at the time he's making that decision doesn't have that benefit.
This is fiscal.
Yeah. So for him, I mean, if I had put all this time into Star Wars, I probably would have done something like. You're asking the wrong guy.
Well, I can concur with you. It's like, all right, say you're George Lucas or whatever. You have hundreds of millions of dollars, and someone approaches you is like, I want to buy the rights to your story and whatnot. It's a lot easier to say no then.
Yeah.
Which.
Yeah.
So it's like we're in front of him. Is like, why do you say yes?
Right. I get it's all guesswork, but I mean, what I think is the most likely scenario is that he, because he's not retired. You can't take $4 billion with you when you die. So what was the idea? Was he to build?
Oh, you can.
No, you can't. But
I'll bury myself with 1 million Bugattis. It'll be a whole new.
I woke up in heaven with Bugattis.
It'll be a whole new tomb.
You go to heaven and you're not going to heaven, but you go to hell with a big and start a Bugatti dealership in hell.
It's like, you know,
you are the richest charred carcass in hell.
You know that Chinese emperor or whatever that was dug up with thousands of soldiers with them?
Yep.
Or whatever. It's like, yeah, we dug like a few hundred years or whatever from now. It's like you dig him up and it's like surrounded by these cars. I don't even know.
What I would probably at the time that George Lucas made the decision to sell Star Wars, what I probably would have done, and this is why you asked the right question to the wrong person, because I don't think I am a typical person in this regard. If I had,
I think you'd sell your soul for $4 billion
for
soul story.
I would not. That would never happen. That's not even enough. That's even if that was possible, which. No, my story. No one knows. No one who has money knows my story exists. You know my story exists.
No one has the money.
You know my story exists and are flat broke. So
I wouldn't buy it.
Exactly.
It's dog shit.
Yeah. Okay. I'll let you believe that. You're wrong, but it's so good. But what I would actually do if I was in George Lucas' shoes and I had that much money and I had built a franchise as successful as Star Wars from like my perspective, let's say it was my story and I built it and it was successful. If I had that level of money, I would not sell it. And what I would do is I would build what I think would be more a smarter idea. I would build an accrediting company and use my resources to build an accreditation company to create and maintain the IP and license fan fiction that can be accredited to the canon. And allow everything outside of the accredited content to be public domain. That's what I would do with my work. That's my hope for my story, is that I can tell my whole story that I want to tell, let the universe exist there, and basically, if it's successful, take the resources I've made and start an agency that would basically just curate, and its only job is to maintain the integrity of the original canon and lore, and allow anyone who wants to create fan fiction for my universe to do so. And if they want to have that made into canon, they can reach out to my agency and get it
reach
accredited.
out to my assistant.
Well, they can get it accredited. They can say, yes, this does not conflict narratively with any of the pre-existing lore, and then you can be officially recognized as canon. That's my plan. That's what I think I want to do.
Yeah.
So if it's Star Wars, I'm not selling for $4 billion because I'm not giving up the integrity of my story for money. I'm not letting another entity change this story at all.
That's what I'm trying
never
to get,
happening.
the mindset behind Lucas when he sold it.
Because he had money and still chose to sell it.
Yeah.
It's like
So as George Lucas, you had a relationship with Kathleen Kennedy. She's been around for fucking, I don't know,
300 years.
No, it's been like 30 years before then.
I heard 300. But...
So it's like, so you selling it is like, all right, my legacy can go on and people can still enjoy this thing. Well, I'm not present for it. And leaving in someone's hands who you think will do right by it.
Maybe, but I mean, I gotta know. I don't know what Kathleen Kennedy, how she behaves behind closed doors. The only thing most people have like is like her red carpet experiences and her interviews. So I have no idea how genuine or disingenuous she sounds when she's talking to George Lucas or other creators behind the scenes about what she thinks will be successful or not successful, what her role in that should be. So I don't know what she told Lucas that would have convinced him that this was a good idea. But I do think that Lucas, well, keep in mind, South Park talked about this. South Park did an episode on this. It was like when Obama was in office, it's like the who's going to buy Star Wars? Is it going to be the Chinese or is it going to be Disney? And Mickey Mouse and Star Wars and Mickey Mouse and the Chinese general were both fighting over who gets the rights to Star Wars. Meanwhile, the 2008, I think.
You're getting me on that. I don't even know that reference.
You don't know that episode?
No.
That's a great episode.
Was that the introduction of Mickey as being like
no? That was the
Disney?
I'm pretty sure that was the Jonas Brothers, but it might have.
That was the ring.
Right. Yeah, the ring, the
purity ring.
Purity ring. I thought that was the first episode of Mickey he was in, but it could be earlier. Either way, I would love to know what your guys' comments, what you guys think about George Lucas. What do you think the reason he sold was? Let us know in the comments. What do you think?
Do you also think he could make, like, say he made his television show? Do you think it would be better than the sequel trilogy?
We need to know
that's a loaded question.
Do I think that, or does the audience think that?
The audience think that.
Yeah.
With how, because like when it comes to Star Wars, it's like, all right, 4 was great, 5 was amazing.
Yeah, it was god tier. Yep.
6, half of it was great, half of it was bullshit.
Well, I think
a lot of the fans think this is like Phantom Menace was bleh, but it was still better than 2, Clone Wars, which everyone thinks is the worst movie, which is the movie I've probably seen the most.
I think I like Clone Wars a lot more than.
But then he ends on Revenge of the Sith, so he's got a very kind of
ebb
like
and flow,
dip and dive kind of.
Well, good storytelling, right? Like not every moment in a story is going to be the climax or the peak moment. He's got build up, he's got setup, he's got all sorts of things he has to do
to
in
me,
order to get.
He peaked with the Revenge of the Sith because Revenge of the Sith is my favorite movie.
Sure.
I wouldn't say it's the best movie. Obviously, we've talked about this.
Well, it's the conclusion.
But so now he makes a TV show afterwards. Do you think it's another big ass fucking dip?
I think we can expect the quality that we got from like the animated Clone Wars series, where it was really good and it had a lot to like. Do I think it would have been better than say like the Revenge of the Sith? Not necessarily, but I do think the popularity was going to continue to grow. And I think outside of movies, Lucas would have been really well off exploring other mediums for storytelling, like a television show, like spin-off books or spin-off series, like more video games at the time. So I think there was definitely a lot of resources Disney had to create more stuff. That could be one argument, that they had more resources than Lucas did to make more Star Wars stuff. But at the same time, I'm
also got to remember that Lucas only. In the Star Wars universe, he's only responsible for about 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything else expanded is from other authors and whatnot, too.
Right. And a lot of those are acclaimed as being amazing. Mm-hmm. Those are not as visible to the everyday person as the movies were. And that's not a dig on them. They are great. They just were not mainstream, I guess is probably what I should have said. They're not mainstream. They're just
the legends.
The legends are, yeah. Like when the story broke that Disney wiped away the canon of of Legends and the old timeline from the Star Wars universe to replace it, like people were pissed off, but a lot of people had no idea what they were pissed off about. They're like, "You're getting rid of the canon? You're telling me that the movies weren't canon?" No, they're telling you Legends aren't canon. They're telling you that the alternative timeline isn't canon. They're telling you all this other stuff, and they're like, "What other stuff?" Like, that's what I meant.
Well, that also means nothing to me. When Disney's like, "Oh, it's not canon anymore."
That bugs me a lot.
No, it's canon to me.
Right.
Everyone's got their own head canon. Revan's canon to me.
I think that's fair.
Nihilus, everyone. Yeah.
I get your point. I disagree. I think that there is...
They don't dictate what's canon to me.
Well, I think the author is the true arbiter of what is and is not canon. outside of like when you retcon your work, I don't really think the audience owes you due credit when as it's saying that that's canon.
So everything was canon then, because George Lucas was basically like, yeah, go wild with it.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought his
And
position
Disney
was.
like, no.
Yeah, that's what George Lucas's position was that that was canon.
And then 7 through 9. That's it.
Yeah. Then I think that's wrong. I think that whatever George Lucas thought was canon is what is canon. Then I think everything past that I think is just Disney fan fiction, and they just own the license simultaneously. So they have the convenient legal precedent to create more stories.
The legal precedent of canon and not canon, but like,
well, they have the legal.
Imagination.
They have the legal license.
These other things are canon.
Well, hold on. The government says something exists, therefore it does. Like that's the licensing. That's the copyright. That's the.
Yes, that's how it works.
No.
Government is God.
Well, the government said that there were nuclear weapons in Iraq. So what's up?
Yeah.
Where were they?
Have you watched The Green Zone?
No. I have not. And we don't have to go down 9/11 rabbit hole. We don't have to do that. All right, we do have more stories to cover.
It was just an obscure movie with Matt Damon.
Want to skip this one?
Yeah.
Okay, we are going to talk about, this was going to be our main story for the day, so let's jump right into it. Invincible Season 3. Guys, we've talked about Invincible a couple of times on the channel. I don't think this is our most popular topic, but we're going to cover it. Invincible has been peak fiction. This show has outkicked its coverage by magnitudes. The storytelling is awesome. Robert Kirkman has blown everyone away after The Walking Dead kind of died out and started to fall flat. I really I didn't have a lot of expectations from him. Invincible, whether it's the comic or the actual show itself, all of it, it's fantastic. There's variations between you good?
Yeah. I'm adjusting, don't worry.
Okay, cool. There's variations between the comic and the show itself. But as far as like how you tell a good story, the show is just succeeding on all fronts. The season finale was last week, and it finished hard. Rotten Tomatoes has this show at a 99%, with the audience score being at 91%.
And they don't agree on anything, audience and critics.
Never. They never. Exactly. Even if you go over to IMDb, which we've sourced as well, 8.7 across almost 250,000 reviews on IMDb. And again, IMDb it's Amazon, so I mean, one thing you could say about this,
Amazon rating on the Amazon show.
Exactly. So you could say you could distrust this number. However, Rotten Tomatoes has never lied.
Lower than yeah. The Amazon rating service, a rating on Amazon show is actually lower than a
curated Rotten Tomatoes numbers.
Yeah.
So honestly, yeah, there's no you got to trust us on this, guys. The season 1, 2, and 3 of Invincible just gets better. Season 2 had a little bit of a slower churn, and it touched on a few like arcs that really weren't narratively huge, but they were all.
That's also where you can use the excuse as COVID.
You could use the excuse COVID because they did have a lot of holdups on animation that slowed them down. There was a longer wait between season 1 and 2 than there was for 2 and 3. So as soon as season 2 came out, season 3 was right on its heels a year later. So we were back to original scheduling, and I think we are back to original scheduling now, especially after how hard season 3 ended. Guys, season 3 ended with some amazing conclusions to great stories, introductions of characters that were honestly in the comics really highly anticipated, and they just did an amazing job bringing them to the screen. I thought it was awesome. I watched it. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time, and I had an idea of what I was looking forward to, but I was so hyped throughout the entire episode.
The show where you know how it goes in the ending. You spoiled it for yourself, but
I'm the only person in the world who isn't punished by spoilers.
I guess. I don't know how that works. But
it's how bizarre.
But it's like season 1 came out, banger. Basically, everyone in the world almost knew what Invincible was after season 1, of how it ended, and like the gruesomeness and how it was portrayed and whatnot. And season 2 took a deep dive.
Yeah, they dug deeper, made like they found characters to be like to make more tragic interactions with. They started doing a lot more development on characters. and some of the villains slash fights.
I'd say they do a little bit more development in season 3
They-
on characters than
Yes.
they did on 2.
but they do that development and it feels better because it's paired right on top of things actually happening. Because in season 3, we're not going to spoil anything in this. We're not spoiling anything in this conversation. But I would say that in season 3, you have not only great moments of character growth and deep exploration of the characters, but there's also a lot of shit happening. So much so that you have one huge conflict happen, and then literally at the end of that episode, the next major conflict happens.
Yeah, you're talking about 8 and 9 because I think 8 could be spread out between like 3 episodes.
And honestly, I think they under-delivered. I think they should have spent a little bit more time on that. I'm gonna let that one hard go because they introduced the characters we needed to have introduced. The delivery was successful. You were meant to feel like you were like everyone was defeated and everything was going badly, and the main character was meant to lose in a significant way, and all of these things were supposed to be delivered. We got that. And there is you're right that we probably could have gotten an extra episode out of it at least. I think that it's more opportunity to over deliver on
We're
something.
being so vague about this.
We are, but I think we're getting the point across is that there's a lot to look forward to in this show. The characters are talk to me about the characters. What is your take on the characters and how they're broken out?
They're way more fleshed out. I actually ended up caring about characters that I didn't give a fuck about before.
Right.
At the beginning of the season, Mark Invincible, I thought was just being so stupid. I mean, he's been stupid throughout the entire show or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was afraid that they were going to revert back to basically base Mark
Mm-hmm.
and his way of thinking at the end of the season. But they didn't shy away from it. Which is good.
They attacked
His
it.
motivation, it makes sense. I think they could have done it better and had it more impactful.
Fair.
But I don't know how well they're adapting the comics or whatnot.
They're
basing
doing
this entirely off of.
So I'll answer that. They do a good job of adapting the comics. Some of the biggest variations between the comics and the show have been Amber specifically. Some of the interactions around the college in season 1. I think a lot of the interactions in season 3 held true to the comic book lore, but I think how the events happened was unfolding a little bit differently. The events happened. All the major milestones are hit. They successfully strike the chords. So
that was an excuse early on Marvel or whatever, where it's like some dumb thing or some shitty thing happens and it's like, well, it was in the comics, and everyone's like, oh, it was in the comics, so therefore it's like, no, just because it happened in the comics doesn't make it good.
Right.
It probably wasn't good in the comics either, but
it's good faith to the comics.
Yeah. I mean, you can change up source material that sucks. Like, there could be certain aspects of source material that you enjoy, and then you found it was like, oh, well, that was kind of shittily done, and then like someone can adapt it better. There are moments like that, but like this show is so fucking hit or miss with me, to be honest.
Hit it. Yeah, keep going.
It's like season 2 is just like whatever. Right now I couldn't tell you what happened in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
It almost just jumps to me. It's like, yeah, there was that alien planet. Nolan had a kid or whatever, and then it's like, oh, the Viltrumites are coming, which is an ongoing thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think season 3 grabbed me back. To be honest, is like,
Are you how anticipatory to the next season are you? How much are you looking forward to it?
The end credit, not so much, that they're going in a different way with like
with the set, with the villains and stuff.
Yeah. I liked the whole I can't fucking talk about it without spoiling it.
Well, there's a character named Conquest who is a villain in the show.
Yeah, I want to
say
talk.
that exists.
I want to talk to you about this.
We can do spoiler free in a minute. We can do spoiler in a minute, but I want to get through the breakdown of the stories and stuff before we talk about.
So this show kind of lost me around. So they dropped 3. They dropped 3 episodes, and then it's episode week after that, right?
Yep. So 3 episodes to drop, and then week episodic after that.
4, they lost me.
Okay,
And I don't remember what happened in 4. It's like, I just stopped giving a shit.
sure.
Mostly because I didn't like Marcus' character and how he was going and whatnot. But they actually developed him and his younger brother, which was not a fan of either.
Yep.
But they also developed him a bit more, not being such a gung-ho. What is he supposed to be, like fucking 10?
No, he's 6 months old.
Well, yeah, I mean, like,
So okay, so we need to.
I mean, in dog years.
For context, we do need to add that into this spoiler-free breakdown. So
Well, that's from season 2.
yeah, yep. So, but I mean, like, we do need to break that context down as we're talking about the characters. We can't leave that unaddressed.
Well,
real quick. I
explain
don't think it's a
Nolan's
So-
sexcapade with insects.
Will do. So there's a race called Viltrumites in this universe. They're basically Kryptonians from Superman, more or less. I mean, they're pretty close. They can fly, super strength, very powerful, very difficult to kill. And they are the strongest known beings typically across this universe. The main character, Mark, is the son of a Viltrumite and a normal human woman. And
While you do this breakdown, BRB.
here we go. Can you help me out here? All right. So Mark Grayson, the main character, is a son of a human woman and a Viltrumite who comes to Earth. And the idea with Viltrumites is that they live a very, very long time, like thousands of years they'll live. And so in season 2, we get introduced to Mark's younger brother, who is kind of half-bred between Viltrumite and another race called Flaxans, who actually age and die really quickly. So Mark's younger brother ages incredibly fast. From the day he's born up to his last appearance in season 3, you actually see him age like up as if he's 11 or 12 years old, but he is actually less than a year old timeline wise. So I apologize that we went on this tangent and had to break all that down, but if you haven't seen the show, I hope that was helpful. The main thing to focus on with the show is that it is a superhero universe. They are characters, and when it comes to Mark and his character, the whole story has been less than a year, or about 2 years. And so he's only had his powers for a small window of time. He was not born to have his powers immediately. So he lived until he was about 18 years old as a normal human. Then he gets his powers, and the whole story's been like less than 2 years. And so the character growth opportunities he's had have been kind of limited, and most things that have happened to him in the last couple of years have been major, catastrophic, tremendously outside of his wheelhouse events that he has to have personally dealt with in order to fix them. So a lot of struggle for his character, a lot of struggle for his life, and it's just an amazingly dark story. They do a great job of telling it, and the voice actors are people you'll recognize as well. So we have Conquest is one of the villains in season 3 that he has to deal with, and Mark is voiced by I'm trying to remember. I apologize. What's the actor's name who plays Glenn?
Stephen Yeun.
Stephen Yeun. Yeah. So Stephen Yeun plays Mark Grayson, Invincible, and then we have the actor who plays Negan. Can you hit me up again? Help me out.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan. These two actors are voice acting one of the major conflicts of season 3 on opposite sides of the conflict, and it's really cool to see the dynamic between these characters.
It's very meta.
It is very meta. I mean, the show does go pretty hard at like meta jokes and meta references. So yeah, Invincible at the start of season 3 and the end of season 3, he's aging super quickly. This is Oliver, the brother who I was talking to you guys about. He ages incredibly quickly. So
which I thought was shit character to begin with.
Okay, I think now let me just see if there's. So the other story is Invincible creator Robert Kirkman on that Conquest finale fight, surprise Walking Dead reunion between Mark fighting Satan, the unused comic storyline. So that is something else that we are going to get into for spoilers. We'll break that down.
You gonna spoil me?
We are going to.
I don't even know about that.
I will break it down for you. Yeah, absolutely. We are going to move into spoilers right now, guys. You are forewarned. I will. I love you all. We're going to move into spoilers. I hope you guys enjoy them. All right, so we're talking spoilers. We're talking Invincible season 3. We're talking all of it. Okay. So my understanding of your criticism of Mark Grayson is that his character is a dumb
Like,
character.
okay, it's
He's not
almost
smart.
it's almost the same. No, it's almost the same criticism that you would put on Superman. He's like almost like Boy Scoutish is like, I can put this off because like he's technically what 19 in this,
He's only had his powers for less than a year.
and everyone has it been less than a year.
Yeah,
It's been 4 years for us.
fair enough. Fair point. And then Oliver's less than a year old as well. So Oliver's less than a year old. So Mark might have had his powers for 2 years. Because I know
So,
there was
like,
a training montage.
I have the same criticism of Mark that you would have on Clark Kent. Is like he almost seems to like Boy Scouty, kind of just like
Mhm.
almost holier than thou. It's like I'm always right. It's like I'm more on Cecil's side of everything.
Sure.
Than even though he's government.
Let me break down this paradigm for you, because I do think this is gonna. I think this will shed light. I don't think it'll convince you to love the character, but I do think this will at least hopefully open some stuff up. For context, when you're breaking down Mark Grayson's character, it's very, very important to recognize his age. It's very important to recognize he has not had his powers for the almost entirety of his life, and has only had them for about 2 years. So he's had his powers for almost no time at all relative to his entire life. Then he spent his entire life epitomizing or like looking up to basically a Superman type role model. So the frustration that you're saying I would have about Superman, where he's too Boy Scoutish, that's how Mark Grayson was raised. He was raised in quote unquote Superman's like upbringing, where he was taught all of these moral lessons by both his mom and his dad, and his dad was the number one hero who he was constantly trying to aspire to. So he is not like, this isn't like his character, this is his upbringing. This is not who Mark Grayson is. Mark Grayson starts to unfold and unveil his true self and how he actually is with his powers after he's learned all these lessons, but it takes breaking the mold on 20 years of his life being like taught to him from these like really high moral pillars that he's supposed to uphold as a hero in walking in his father's footsteps. All of the trauma that also played out with Omni-Man, where Omni-Man like is the villain, attacks, kicks the absolute shit out of him, almost kills him, murders thousands of people.
What will you be in 500 years?
Exactly. So it leads up to that. Think about that as well. You were raised by this person to be so morally virtuous. Then he hard changes on you, betrays the entire planet, killed the Guardians of the Globe, almost kills you, and your entire internal monologue for the rest of your life is, I am not that. That's not me. I am not the bad guy. I won't do what he did.
Well, I mean, like,
that's the entire internal monologue that's driving his character throughout the rest of the show.
What would have been like season 3, episode 6 or 7 or whatever, when they introduce fucking Pulitzer. What the fuck is his name? Powerplex?
Powerplex, yeah.
It was like he's voicing everything that I've been thinking. It's like, dude, you got to be held accountable. And it's like, you just ran the episode before, you just ran through CIA, fucking just,
yep,
and nothing happens to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, he was kind of like my inner monologue or whatever going into that. And it's like, yeah, he needs to be held accountable. But the way that they did it was like, whatever. But
the other thing with like breaking into the CIA is like,
I understand it's like you can't really do anything or like hold gods basically accountable,
right?
When you're mere human, you can't put Mark on the fucking stand and be like, have a jury and just be like, yeah, no, he's guilty. And it's like,
not on Earth.
Yeah, and then the government's like,
space.
Actually, we need him because of other external shit.
Also, one of the points you brought up about Invincible being stupid with the in relation to how it worked with Cecil was, it's
this holier than thou that really got under my skin. It's like, I'm always right and Cecil's wrong.
Well,
it's like when Cecil's actually right about a lot of things.
I think that Mark went to the CIA to like basically like tell Cecil that he needs to undo this and stop doing this, because keep in mind that
Cecil has been using yeah, enemies of the state and whatnot
Right.
for his own uses, and just be like people that are murderers and whatever don't face backlash because they're useful for Cecil, and Mark is mad about that. I understand.
Every decision that Mark makes, whether it's breaking into the CIA, bringing his brother home, trying to tutor his brother or mentor his brother into being a hero, like attacking the Pentagon, fighting with Cecil, like every decision he has made throughout the, like killing Angstrom Levy and then not killing trying to kill Angstrom Levy, every decision he has made makes perfect sense when you think about the, like, how his life has unfolded up to that moment. When you think about him breaking into the CIA, before that happened, he was betrayed by his dad in like an incredibly traumatizing. Well, in incredible.
No,
let me just finish it though. Like, you get that was an incredibly traumatizing moment. But then he just spent almost half a year training with Cecil, making up like good grounds, getting trained, getting ready for the Viltrumite battle, and then he's betrayed by Cecil, who has been hiding all of the the Invincible robot or the robot men and the Darkwing. He thought those people were in jail, and Cecil, the guy who's been training him, also just betrayed him, and so now he goes back to talk.
Just betray him. What triggers is he sees that drone outside of his window and automatically assumes it's Cecil, and he fucks up my tax dollars.
But also, okay, so I'm getting to that point because that you're right, that is the triggering event. But before that, he had been betrayed by Cecil, and then he really was almost killed by Cecil.
I won't even say betrayed, but I mean,
well, he was the secret, the implant in his head. The implant in his head. He was betrayed by Cecil by keeping Sinclair around to work on more Animen, and by keeping Darkwing around when he should have been kept in prison for murder. And the Sinclair thing with the Animen was incredibly hard hitting because that also hurts William and Rick as well. So he was betrayed on that front. He had something put in his head to contain him and almost kill him, and he was almost killed by Cecil and the Animen. And then he comes back, he sees a drone, he's like, I told you guys to knock this shit the fuck off. Like,
I might have to rewatch this whole season.
A person with less restraint would have just blown up the fucking planet.
Well, I gotta see it from more of Mark's eyes, being so young and all the shit he's been through and whatnot. Where when I was watching the season, I saw it more through Cecil's eyes, and I was more on his.
Well, but that's the thing. Like, Cecil is an amazing character because he's incredibly relatable. He is a human who is smart, who is watching the entire planet be threatened by aliens that he barely has any tools.
Any contingency I fucking have.
Exactly. His logic makes perfect sense, but Mark's reaction also makes perfect sense. It's a conflict between two incredibly well-written characters. Like, Mark's interactions with the going back to the CIA after seeing the drone is like, you betrayed me, you almost killed me, and I told you to knock it the fuck off, and here I am having to come back here again. And he is immature. He is a young guy with very, very new interactions to his powers. He's still not even like maximized his strength level yet.
Yeah. You also gotta what's the word for it?
And that's just the beginning of the season. That's just like the first 4 episodes. The latter half hits so much harder.
I identify as
a Cecil.
More of like a Cecil character, logical thinking, doesn't really give a fuck.
Right.
About like how you feel about it.
Your emotions need to check.
Yeah.
Keep your emotions in check.
And Mark in the beginning of the season is very emotional and whatnot. And that always irks me when someone bases their decisions and does things based purely on emotion instead of just thinking about it for a second or two.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see that happening from like 19-year-old or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it does make sense.
It does. And yeah, I definitely recommend rewatching to consider that. But I mean, you like the thing about Cecil is you tapped into Cecil's character perfectly. Like, you have a perfect understanding of how Cecil's character works. And the way they did his backstory introduction as well was really good.
Yeah, that was good.
Cecil's backstory introduction, they crammed so much of this. Let me see if I can get a accurate summary of what all is included in this season. So you do have Cecil's backstory. You have the romantic interest between Mark and Adam Eve happen. You have all
Her
of
name's Samantha, by the way, which I didn't know until the end of the season.
right. So you have their relationship. You have Oliver being raised, being trained, and ultimately coming out on his own. You have the Maulers being killed. You have the Invincible War. You have Powerplex being introduced. You have Conquest coming to Earth. You have Eve dying. You have you have and that's not. I don't even think that's. You have the stuff with Nolan where he breaks out of prison.
Him and Alan, yeah.
And Battle Beast staying.
Oh yeah, and Battle Beast.
Battle Beast stays relevant. You have, yeah, I'm sure I'm missing a bunch. You
There's
have
a fuckload that happened
in 8 episodes. All of those are major events that happen within 8 episodes. It's Doc Seismic is almost a whole episode unto himself.
Totally forgot.
Yeah, so one of the 8 episodes is pretty much entirely absorbed by Doc Seismic's like storyline and what he's going
you're
through.
Developing. I don't remember what her name is, but that one chick that can shrink.
Ray. Oh, Ray and Rex.
Ray and Rex.
Ray and Rex has a love story
that's a character development that I very much appreciate, and it's like I was starting to really fucking like Rex.
Well, I was too. And you know what was really cool was during the funeral when Rudy takes his name. That was goosebumps for me. Like I actually felt that one because I know
the only thing I can think of is like, how can I make this about me?
Well, yeah,
kind of thing is like
no, that was
which I understand because he took what is
Rex.
No, not Rex. Kid version.
Rudy. Yeah. Okay.
Like, I was like, oh, okay, I get it because Rudy took Rex's image and
yes, yep,
plastered on himself as a teen and whatnot. It's like, yeah.
And I mean,
So yeah, it's a bit more.
Robot's character is epic. Robot's character in the comic is a god tier level written character. Just absolutely something to look for, like as a writer. Do what you can to emulate Robot. He's fantastically well written in the comic book. His breakdowns make so much. His breakdowns are so smart.
He's almost like the inverses of like purely logical, fucking reason based mindset to being more human and having an emotional side to him.
Yeah,
it's like it's pretty good. And what he does for Monster Girl or whatever I think her name is.
Yes, Monster Girl. Yep. Well, she has a name that's outside of it. It's been said in the show. I'm also drawing a blank on it. Monster Girl.
Yeah.
But so yeah, what he did for Monster Girl. Yeah, Monster Girl gets that device, and Rex sets that up for her now.
What I was thinking through that entire scene is basically it's like, so is Monster Girl technically like quote unquote immortal?
Yes. Yep. I mean, if she uses
like
her,
she can just chill for like 10 years and just be like, all right.
Yes.
Use my power.
If she uses her curse and her powers, the answer is yes. She can be immortal. So yeah, and we're getting a lot of glimpses at the fight here between Conquest and Invincible. This was an insanely epic battle. So much freaking fun to watch.
I like how there's no breather. You got episode 7 that's Invincible
War
versus basically 18 different Invincibles,
and the event is called the Invincible War,
which could have gone on for more episodes.
It could have been, but they introduced and did everything they needed to. They got Angstrom Levy back in, and they introduced us to the terminals. No, there's a name for the engineers who were working on Angstrom Levy and repairing him. I don't remember if it was said in the show or if I just caught it from the comic books and I'm remembering it. But
no, I think they said it. I'm just blanking on it.
Yeah, but yes, they're the people who repaired Angstrom Levy and have been repairing him are now leveraging and using him. Dude,
like I didn't realize like he set those people up or whatever, or like gave them a bastion or whatever to do whatever the fuck they were doing, because like Mark's whole thing throughout this season is like it's basically like a Batman kind of moral quandary towards like to kill or not to kill, and he thinks he killed this person, so he's dealing with that this entire time.
Yep, he was dealing with that,
and it turns out he didn't kill him. And now at the resolution of this season, he's like, I'm going to kill anyone that fucking threatens my family again.
Yeah.
Which I was hoping for. It's like, I'd hope he just like, I'm kind of over the to kill or not to kill. It's like, dude, you are beyond powerful. You cannot have the same moral quandary that street level
Criminals have.
No, heroes have, like Batman or Daredevil or whatever. You don't get to have that dilemma because you literally can. That was good.
Did you hear that?
Water drop.
I couldn't tell if you heard if the mic picked that up. I just had one drink of water and then bloop. It's like that come out the microphone.
But yeah, it's like when you have like godlike powers, it's hard to have that moral quandary in a story.
Isn't this the trick?
Than you do with like street level.
But this is another reason why his character is so well written. He does have that conflict, and it's legitimate because he keeps being put in positions where killing is the only solution. Superman doesn't have this problem. Mark does. Mark does have to deal with whether he can or whether he should kill people because he's constantly put in positions where the only fix to the problem is killing him. The best setup possible for that was putting Immortal in the past, like more Immortal in the future. He literally had to kill someone who was his friend in order to set him free. It was the like save me from myself, save me from like this eternity of suffering, and he had to do it. But then that's right on the back of Angstrom Levy. Then it's on the back of the Invincible War, where he has to fight with the Invincible variants, and he's trying not to kill, but he has to protect everyone. Every event that Mark has been put in has been so far out of his league. Not killing people has been off the table.
It's also like when Powerplex comes in, it's like you have killed people.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, or intentionally or unintentionally, which they're all unintentional, but it's like you are this person's godlike being that just what was the Chicago count? It was like 2,000 some or whatever. You just killed 2,000 some.
Yep.
And then like he deals with that, takes care of the Invincibles, and then next episode Conquest comes in and basically levels the city with his face in one. And it's like, all right, so we're well past the kill count on that.
I want to pull up a
by far the best opening of Invincible is Powerplex giving his first speech.
Yep, there was a short that talked about it.
He mentions Invincible like 10 times or whatever and just keeps on flashing the card.
Do you know why that happens? There's an answer. I'm trying to pull it up so that we don't.
The first time they say Invincible, it usually goes to the card.
Hold on, I'm trying to find. Let me keep going while I try to pull up the story. I'm pulling up. I
don't even know what you're trying to pull up, but yeah, I mean the character growth throughout the season I enjoyed, because the first half I was like, this is the same old bullshit that we've been doing for fucking us 5 years, them couple years, whatever, and then it culminates into everyone getting a good resolution to their character development. Like even Oliver, I fucking hated. But then again, you gotta put in the he's only like what, fucking 6 months old.
He's got the maturity of a he's got the maturity of a 1-year-old.
He doesn't know
superpowers.
Yeah, basically, he doesn't. Ethics don't really mean anything to him at the point. But then you have the scene where he sneaks out and meets up with his friends or whatever,
which was really cool too.
Yeah, and Invincible was like always trying to go and just like protect people, or protect him, and then protect the bullies that show up to bully Oliver, and Eve is holding them back. And Oliver, because I was expecting this, Oliver would just accidentally punch someone to death. He's just like swing and it's like, oh, he's gone.
Right.
But now he actually handles it like a kid that age would, and he just pantses all of them. It's like, oh, cool. So he is learning after murdering the Maulers.
I am going to pull we're gonna watch this short, and we're gonna watch this short because it is so well said. So the short is entitled "Reason Behind."
You know who plays this character, right?
Yeah, Jesse, the guy who plays Jesse Pinkman in Breaking Bad. I don't remember the name of the actor. It's Jesse something, right? Isn't Jesse his real name?
I don't have anything to look anything up right now.
Fair enough.
Everything's dead.
Okay, I want to unmute this. I want to check the audio quick. Okay,
I think he shot them. I don't know.
guys, we're gonna. Okay, so
Paul something.
so it's episode 6 where Powerplex has the introduction cards changeover, and this guy does the best breakdown of it. I think it's really well done. Quick audio check. I don't know how this is gonna sound. Quick.
You know that there was a reason for the many Invincible title cards in season 3, episode 6.
This is about the thousands of people and the countless other lives destroyed. Why is above the law? Why does never pay for his crimes? Where is it when people are trying
I love
to put
this.
their world
Him as a voice actor is
back
amazing.
together? I want.
Yeah.
Is it a
You might think they added
predecessor?
them as a joke, but
Hold
it's
on,
not
hold
true.
on,
The
before you
actual
play it.
reason.
Okay.
Pause it. Is it a predecessor to all the Invincibles coming in?
Yeah. Way to spoil it.
You might think they added them as a joke, but it's not true. The actual reason is that we saw so many Invincible variants ready to come to the main Invincible universe at the end of the episode, and since more than one Invincible was shown in this episode, the show's creators wanted to foreshadow to the show
This is-
watchers that we'd see more than one Invincible in this episode by adding more than one title card.
I loved that breakdown.
I just got it while
Yeah.
listening to this. I'm like,
Yeah, it's because there's so many Invincibles in the end of the episode.
oh my god.
And I tell you what, I loved the Powerplex episode, but I saw the Invincibles at the end of the episode. It was like, Invincible War, Invincible War, Invincible War. It's fucking coming. I was so fucking hyped for it. And it did not underdeliver. Dude, that was such a good
It was
episode.
brutal.
That episode, like,
Like Earth is like destroyed pretty much after that.
I love watching Mark fight while Eve and Oliver are around. He's just like constantly like, just
Get the fuck out of here.
stop fucking making me protect you while I'm getting my ass whooped. Like, and that's not what he's saying, but that's what is happening. Like first off, Eve coming in with Conquest was super clutch, and the only possible way he stood a chance. He was fucking doomed in that episode. But
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
but yeah, this was so. I wanted to ask you one question. I had a side conversation with someone who I was telling about the show, and they are someone who's not really into like they don't like anime, they don't like cartoons, they don't like anything that's like not live action. And I was trying to convince them, like, hey, no, this is a seriously good show with amazingly well written, great voice acting, a cast you'd know, and a storyline that's fantastic. And they're
Just
like,
happens to be drawn.
it just happens to be drawn. And it's like, it's based in a superhero universe, and they're just like lights out. They're just out of the conversation. They hear superhero, they hear like cartoon / animation.
Oh yeah, because it's gonna be like Marvel in their eyes, to where it's like quippy and.
Do you think that this show is for everyone? Do you think this outside, like, if you could break that person out of that mentality, do you think this show would be for everybody, or do you think there is do you think
niche audience?
do you think this is a bigger audience, or do you think this is like specific to people who have good taste?
I don't know. It's a hard one to say. It's like,
Because there's a lot of shows. If you took time with someone who didn't like anime or didn't know anything about anime, and you put 1 or 2 good projects in front of them, and they gave it an honest shot, you could get them into the entirety of the anime medium easily if they just gave it a shot. But I am wondering if this show specifically is a for everyone show, or if we are just a part of the audience ourselves, and so we can't tell.
it's
I
a
had to struggle-
hard fucking question.
I had to struggle with this one a bit because I had people who were telling me straight up they were not even remotely interested. And I'm just sitting here thinking, I was like, dude, the voice acting is fantastic. The characters are great. The cast is a recognizable cast. The story is heartfelt, sincere.
You know what you could do?
What's that?
You show them the cast. You'd be
Ooh, like just
this-
lie to them.
This
This is-
all these great people are in it, and you'd be like, you put it on.
I wonder what we have IMDb pulled up. I wonder if outside of Yoon and
They didn't use voice actors. They used actors.
actors who voiced, yeah.
Yeah.
So you got J.K. Simmons, Stephen Yeun, Sandra Oh, very recognizable.
Sandra Oh has been in a fuckload of shit.
Yeah. Walton Goggins.
Walton Goggins. I didn't
He's
realize
so fucking
that.
good.
I didn't even know he was Cecil until this season. I
Yep.
was like,
Ross.
Jason, who plays Rex, you wouldn't
Mantzoukas.
recognize him unless you watch The League.
Yeah. Zachary Quinto as Robot. So they've had a few different people play Robot. Melissa, so Duplicate. I don't recognize her. So there are plenty of people in here that I don't recognize, but the cast is huge. So you would expect that.
There's 95 other people, and they're all like guest starring. You got like Jeffrey Donovan that plays Machine Head from.
Oh yeah. Yep. Forgot about that.
Burn Notice.
Yep. He's great. I would say like, yeah. And I guess Jason Mantzoukas is not going to be relevant anymore.
Which sucks.
It doesn't it so? Doesn't it so?
Which
Yes.
I kind of expected that. It's like, oh, they're building up Rex's character from being a D-bag into an actual human being. It's like, oh, he's gonna die.
Well, and I knew. So first off, Rudy taking Rex's name. I knew that happened. I did not realize that the original Rex died in the Invincible War. So I missed that chunk of the timeline in the story for Rex's character. So that was a hard miss for me.
Yeah,
But
when people other than the main character are starting happy lives, you can expect them to die in any show.
I want to see the ratings episode by episode for Invincible real quick. So
3.
8 out of 10. 1 was an 8 out of 10. So 1 is all the way up to them getting captured by and taking on Doc Seismic.
Yeah, this first half is not great for me. Second half is excellent for me.
But episode 2 you would probably say is like huge, awesome.
It's alright.
What? That's downplaying the shit out of it, dude. This is everything. This is the biggest part. This is one of the bigger moments in this season. Like when Cecil and Mark have their falling out. That you wouldn't like. This is where you figure out that he got the thing in his head. You have him fighting the Animen. You have the Guardians of the Globe chiming in, and there's a fight there, and then they have their split up. I mean, then you have even Mark coming together and actually deciding to be a couple. I mean, like, dude, this one.
No, do they become a couple in this one, or is this the one where he's like, I have to ask her out because the older other person said.
No, this is the one. Well, that starts at this episode.
Okay.
Well, actually, it starts at episode 1. So Mark tells her in episode 1 before they get abducted by Doc Seismic.
Oh, okay.
Then the Cecil battle. Then they have a conversation on the roof. Then they have a conversation at the big bridge. So, and that's where they get together, and that's in episode 2. So a lot of shit happened.
I like how that slips though. It's like, you just asking me out because a different version of me has like always regretted it.
Yeah, exactly. It's so well done. Such a good setup for that that story.
No, I always liked you.
I think a 9 out of 10, 9.2 is perfectly appropriate for that episode. Now the cost 3 and 4. I see your point. Like the episode where they had to go and go back in time. And go with Immortal, I think was the weaker episode. So yeah, 8.6, 9.2. This was supposed to be easy, which is the one where Oliver's growing up, and it's a 7.5. So episode 5 is actually the weakest
That's the lowest one
so far.
I wouldn't say so.
Let me see if there's a deeper breakdown on this episode. Yeah, so you have
I think the whole like crime part of the episode brought it down for some people. But.
Fair enough. I mean, can you imagine coming away from a conflict with Cecil and Mark and then being like, are we really going back to Machine Head? And it's like,
right.
I get it. Okay, so this one being a 7.5, I think is still kind of low, but I at least understand. Let's go back. Okay, so we had 6 was so good. I thought Powerplex was awesome. I think 8 is fine.
6, 7, 8, and 9 or 6, 7, and 8. I watched it all in one sitting, so it's all like one big long episode for me.
Yep, and Powerplex, then the Invincible War, then Conquest. And Mark does
9.9 for the last episode.
I thought it was perfect cinema too. I think everything up to and when Conquest is defeated, and then they move on from that. I think it starts to be like touching on the next season. I actually thought the episode was really short because the Conquest battle was most of the episode, and by the time the battle was done, you only had like 5-10 minutes of like just here's the extra stuff to
Oh,
happen.
yeah, same with the Invincible War. The whole episode is
the
one big long battle.
And I love
So
it.
you got like 80 minutes straight of nothing but fighting.
And I love it. I was hooked for it. And it's not even just for the violence or just for the fighting. The story elements and the character like the characters and the way the interactions happen between characters is so organic. When Debbie tells Oliver to go, dude, fuck me. That was so fucking good.
It's like, go, but I fucking hate that I just said that.
Don't let him grab you. Don't let him get you. Stay out of the way.
Both my kids might die right now.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like you have to.
She was not going to be able to stop him, but like
Right.
that was such a good moment for the show. I'm going to go back and rewatch.
Deborah's great.
She is
and
really
it's-
well. Yeah, she's a really well put together character.
I liked the escalation, how basically Cecil is like his worst fears were realized with Conquest coming.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, this guy's leagues upon our Viltrumite.
Yeah.
It's like,
He's not. It wasn't even close. Yeah, Conquest is not even the strongest. So there's one.
they do flesh out his character throughout the fights a little bit. It's like he's the one that's sent to just like, all right, you had your chance to comply and whatnot, and now it's up to me. It's like I get to fucking lay waste and do whatever the fuck I want. Kind
Yeah.
of thing. Actually, they were holding him back.
Yes.
There was a moment like that where it's like they keep holding him back. Because the Viltrumites themselves are afraid of Conquest and his just bloodthirst.
Mm-hmm. But
so now he was like, all right, take over Earth, no chains.
Any means necessary.
Any means necessary.
Yep, exactly.
And go off. But then he also has this like, right before he's about to kill Mark, I don't know how I feel about this. He goes on this diatribe about being lonely.
I think it makes sense. I see what you were saying. It was awkward, but I think it was an awkward moment, and I think it made perfect sense. I think that was the only place it was going to happen, and I think you almost needed Conquest to like tell us a little bit more about himself, and I think it made sense. I think it makes sense, and I think it works.
Where do you think loneliness falls on someone's scale of emotions when they've lived for 5,000 years?
Well, high. I mean, pretty damn high.
Yeah, you think it would.
Well, I mean, but think about Conquest. He's like, this is a fight that he actually knows he can talk, like he can say whatever he wants, and it's never going to be said. But a Viltrumite is the only one who's going to understand like living a long time, being ostracized. He's like, this emotional spewing of what like trauma dumping on Mark right now after like nearly killing him. It makes perfect sense when you think about like who would he tell this to?
Right.
After so many thousands of years, how would you even get these words out? Like to anybody? Like you're gonna tell a normal person? It's like, no.
I'm about to bash your face in, but let me just say these few words in your ears.
Well, no human.
I'm so lonely.
No human or normal mortal, no mortal like
Mark wouldn't
race.
get it anyway.
Well, but no mortal
'Cause
race would. Like,
I know, but he's saying this too, basically, because Mark has the potential to live for thousands of years.
Yeah.
But he's only lived for 19, so it's kind of like just like trauma dumping on your puppy. Basically, or something like that.
I'm so
'Cause,
lonely.
yeah, it's like
You're doing a bad job.
It's like
being a puppy.
Trauma dumping on someone that could possibly understand his struggle, like Immortal, maybe.
That's a good.
Would make
Well, I
sense.
mean, he doesn't even know Immortal exists.
Yeah, Immortal's not. He doesn't.
He's
act
not
like,
universally known.
Yeah, he doesn't act like an Immortal either. He's
No.
very into.
The present.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's very for the moment.
He acts very just like normal for a dude that's lived for 10,000 years.
Let's poke this article real quick. So this is the one you were so Invincible creator Robert Kirkman on that Conquest finale fight, surprise Walking Dead reunion, and Mark fighting Satan in unused comic storyline. So in the original comic breakdown, there is a Satan storyline that never really gets concluded or like finished out. So there's a part of that story that really does not get a conclusion or touched on. And then Dark Blood being relevant to the story again is another thing that after he's sent to hell, there's a lot you can't do with his character. So and it really we only
Yeah,
get
that
like
was kind of like we just skipped past that to where in season 1 where there's another dimension where hell actually exists, and then we never acknowledge it again.
exactly. So this is and it's only like less than 60 seconds. It's not a long thing to break down.
No, it's
just
end of credit scene.
right. It's just clarifying that this will be something that comes forward, and I love that for the storyline.
So
It should be fun.
forward. He references I have the perfect person for you or whatever.
Yes.
It's I don't think they're talking about Mark, or I don't know who they're talking about when it comes to that.
I think that I agree with you. I'm pretty sure that it wasn't Mark.
You got
also.
spoilers in your mind, so
I have things
know things.
I know a lot. I'm super smart. Your boy's wicked smart.
We smart. I just read further.
Just read ahead. I cheated.
I skipped a revelation and it spoiled the book for me.
Well, all in all, we're coming up on 3 hours, and I think those are the main stories. Let me just, if there's another story, we're gonna move on to it real quick. Anything else to wrap up for Invincible? I think that pretty much covers it, right?
It ended great.
It's strong finish.
Strong finish.
Okay.
2 was whatever. 3 pretty good.
I think actually we can wrap it up. I think that pretty much covers everything, unless you wanted to run on to the more stories.
Good.
I'm too. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up there after 3 hours. This is the longest podcast episode we've had yet, so I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you guys like the topics we're covering, please let us know by considering subscribing to the channel, smashing that like button to help us reach more people, share the video out there to help us grow, and if you haven't already, check out the merch store. Links in the description. Got some cool stuff in there, and let us know what your guys' thoughts are throughout the week. In the comments, we'll be hitting you guys back up. Sunday Slackers tomorrow, we're going to be back in Repo. And then Thursday, we are going to be trying something a little bit different next week. So make sure to tune in for that. We will catch you guys on the next episode. Don't forget, go tell your stories. Peace out.
I tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like, and find your limits, don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life.